Hey, don't sit down. How are you? Ready? Welcome, everybody. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, February 18th, 2025. Please stand for the pledge, followed by an invocation by Vice Mayor Young. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Most holy and everlasting God, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this hour, oh God. We thank you, oh God, for every person here today, oh God. We invite you, oh God, to just have thine own way. Have your way, oh God, for we know that where you reside, oh God, peace reigns, oh God. We know where you reside, there is no confusion. Help us in this meeting, oh God. Help us that our minds and our hearts are in the right place, oh God, so that we'll make the right decisions. The decision, oh God, is not about ourselves, but about the city of Lake City. Just have thine own way. And then, oh God, just want to pause to ask you to just bless our first responders, oh God. Have your way in their lives and bless their families. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Durkin.
President.
Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Young. Councilmember Carter.
Present.
Mayor Walker.
President.
City Manager Rosenthal.
Here.
City Attorney Martin.
Present.
Chief Butler.
Here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting since 1968. The city code has prohibited any person from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There is only one approved manner of addressing the city council, and that is to be recognized and then speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons are not to openly carry a handgun or carry a concealed weapon or firearm while the governing body is meeting. Failure to abide by the rules of decorum will result in removal from the meeting. As you guys can see, this is a packed room. This is a long agenda. This is going to be a long meeting. So I'll just give you some overviews. Please stop at 3 minutes during public comments or any comments of any kind. No disruption from the audience, and speak only to the agenda item being addressed at that time. This is your warning to start. All right, so we will go ahead and move into approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed, like sign? Now, we don't have any proclamations tonight, so we'll move right into public participation. And to start, we'll go in the first order, Mr. Glenn Bowden.
I think I'm passing. Just do the one I got.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Mr. Lilker.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. It's been a long time it's been a while since I've been in Lake City. I have a couple of things tonight. My name is Stu Wilker. I live 6.5 miles south of a thriving metropolis that is now blowing up at Fort White. And I published the Columbia County Observer. I've been watching these meetings online instead of driving into Lake City. I was told by the city manager that this audio system was going to be fixed after the city council approved the budget. The budget went into effect on October 1st. Today is February 18th. It's still not fixed. That's a disservice to the public. It's a disservice to the city. It's a disservice to the city council. I see you got microphones now with longer goosenecks, but it doesn't do any good if people don't talk into them. Should have got microphones with a little switch on them, so at least you concentrate when you turn them on. This is getting worse. It's almost impossible to understand, and the clerk will tell you that when I'm about to do an article for this, I have to get the audio from her so I can understand what goes on. I've mentioned that to some of you in the past. Hopefully, that can be fixed. And I would point out, respectfully to this board, that the city council is the boss. So that if the city manager can't get the work done, you need to talk to him. He's a likable guy, very handsome. I talk to him from time to time, so everybody can talk to him. You need to get it fixed. It's just not right. You see tonight, for the first time in a while, that the consent agenda looks like it's supposed to be a consent agenda with approval of the minutes, which is just plain old simple business. For a while, the city got off track. I don't know if that was the city attorney. I don't know if it was the city manager. I don't know who did it, but we need to keep our eye on that. Consent agenda items are consent agenda items. And finally, Your Honor, I mentioned it before the meeting. I find it very disconcerting. Now I'm looking around this and I see the city attorney, Mr. Jernigan, is always dressed up. Sometimes he shows up in tuxedos, and but he's always dressed to the nines. City councilmen now come with ties. City manager comes with a tie. Assistant city manager comes with a tie. Finance director doesn't come with a tie. But this is not casual time.
Mr. Lilliker,
And I'm gonna finish the sentence.
please do.
And I take offense that you keep showing up here like this is casual meeting night. They
Thank you,
always
Mr.
wore a
Thank you,
tie.
Mr. Lilliker. That's 3 minutes.
Thank you.
On to the next person. Mr. Williams.
I'd actually like to, my name's Tim Williams. I work here in town. I'm a consultant with Paymark Group. We have offices in Lake City. My address is the 3196 104th Street in Wellborn. But I've been in business here in Lake City for 20 years. I would like to potentially address an item that's on your agenda, but I don't know anything about the item. So can I wait for that and then come back and comment later?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You know which item that is, Mr. Williams?
Several potentially. I'm not sure which one.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Yeah, to be specific, after Mr. Lacker's comment, you guys are considering a proposal to do some study of your sewer system from a consultant in Jacksonville. So that's one item so that one in particular.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Williams. All right. Mr. Atkinson.
I hope I passed the dress code. I'm Tim Atkinson, city resident for over 40 years, and many years ago, the director of North Florida Mental Health Center, during which time all of the facilities at Michigan Avenue were built. I'm recommending that you all consider the proposal for Meridian to occupy that building. Lakeshore Hospital Authority and Meridian have finalized an agreement pending resolution of the zoning issue. I have some facts I want to present to you, and I appreciate having the opportunity to give it to you in writing, because I don't think I can do this in 3 minutes. And by the way, I urge you, it's an issue that deserves more than 3-minute public comment. So I hope you carve out time to really take a hard look at this issue. Contrary to popular belief, the contract that's proposed or that's been agreed upon by the authority and by Meridian does not call for Meridian to operate a mental health hospital. The word hospital is not used at all. There will be no hospital. Meridian's original proposal called for, or included, among other things, a 30-bed residential treatment program, a forensic residential treatment program for individuals who've had contact with the legal system and who have long-term serious mental illness and need long-term care. That's not in the contract. The contract has got several different versions of what they're gonna offer. What they're proposing to offer now does not use the word hospital at all. It uses terms such as inpatient psychiatric services. That's not a licensable facility. You don't know what you're getting. Another term they use is extended residential treatment. You really need to know what Meridian plans to offer, what they plan to get licensed to provide, because there are a lot of differences between a hospital, between a CSU, or short-term residential treatment facility, and a mental health residential treatment facility in terms of staffing and security issues. I'm not gonna take time to talk about the location. Everybody's familiar with the location and what a treasure we have in our community with Lake DeSoto and the surrounding land that's still available for further development. So I urge you to take a look at it, and I hope you'll take a look at the statistics about the use of the police department
Yes, sir.
at Meridian.
We did get that, in our emails. We appreciate you, thank you. So I don't have anybody else signed up for public participation, so we will now move to the approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Motion? A second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Okay. Presentations. First, we have Mr. Tyler Todd, lead operator of St. Margaret's Wastewater Treatment Facility, with a PowerPoint presentation. Welcome to the podium, Mr. Todd.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Tyler Todd. I'm the lead operator of the St. Margaret's Wastewater Treatment Facility. Tonight I've made a presentation that will hopefully offer insight to what we do as wastewater treatment plant operators. Many are not aware of the average amount of water that we individually use every day. The average used in the United States is 100 gallons per day per person. Almost every household function generates wastewater or waste that must be responsibly treated and disposed of. Once water is used in households and businesses, it is discharged to the city's network of piping at 72 lift stations. Wastewater is over 90% dirty water from showering, laundry, food preparation, and dishwashing. Lift stations in the extensive piping network are critical pieces of infrastructure that convey wastewater throughout the city, miles from the origin to the treatment plant, to the wastewater plants where treatment begins. The headworks is the first station, known as the pre-treatment process, where influent or untreated wastewater enters the facility from the collection system. Pictured are the screening and grit removal processes. This equipment removes large debris such as rags and heavier material, preventing clogging of downstream pumps and equipment. Once pre-treatment is completed, wastewater is pumped to the aeration basin where it is introduced to our bugs. Wastewater treatment is largely a biological process where during treatment, waste are converted and stabilized into simpler compounds using microorganisms we refer to as bugs. As operators, we create the right conditions for our bugs to thrive, controlling many process and seasonal variables so that adequate treatment is achieved. Pictured is an aerator. This introduces oxygen into the basin for the bacteria to consume. By providing the right conditions, we culture bacteria to treat a variety of harsh pollutants, giving our bugs a stable food source adequate time to treat the waste, and air for complete stabilization to occur. What the bugs do. The bugs need oxygen to survive and reproduce just like we do. We add air and give them enough time to eat the waste. The microorganisms we develop become a culture of bacteria, what is known in our industry as activated sludge. We monitor the population frequently using a microscope and other laboratory analysis to determine changes in the process before there are issues. In the operation of the plant, we concentrate this sludge, removing a portion from the process daily to maintain balance in the system, and the remaining is recycled and goes back to the treatment process to treat more waste. The microorganisms we utilize in natural systems, such as lakes, ponds, exist in natural systems, such as lakes, ponds, and riverbeds. In the wastewater process, we accelerate the treatment of this water that would otherwise take months or years in nature to stabilize to a much shorter time of days or weeks, so water can be returned sooner to the environment for beneficial recharge to our aquifers. Once the wastewater has completed treatment in the aeration basin, flow is sent to sedimentation tanks known as clarifiers. These tanks allow us to let gravity do the work of separating the activated sludge from the treated water, allowing compaction and sludge removal, before being sent to the next steps, solids disposal and disinfection. After treatment, a portion of the solids that we remove from the system daily are further stabilized in our digesters. We further concentrate the solid material where a gallon can spend an additional 15 to 20 days before final disposal. The solids are then thickened by a centrifuge to remove even more water and recapture the lost solids and put them in the truck. We try to achieve the driest possible solids to reduce hauling costs. The treated biosolids are then applied to designated state-approved sites or landfill. The disinfection, once leaving clarification, wastewater is disinfected using sodium hypochlorite, which is your average household bleach, just typically 4 times concentrated, 4 times more concentrated, to kill any pathogens and microbes that could cause disease or harm the environment. After spending adequate time in the chambers, the wastewater is then sent to our spray fields and wetlands to be reintroduced to the environment for final treatment. The wetlands is where the water is disposed of, and once it leaves the plant, we pump it over 7 miles to the treatment wetlands, where specific plants are utilized to aid in further removal of nitrogen and phosphorus, protecting our springs and waterways we all enjoy. The wetland is a 120-acre site that is monitored and sampled frequently to ensure compliance with state regulations before final discharge. Most of the water is absorbed into the aquifer for beneficial recharge, and some is evaporated through the leaves of the plants. In 2024 alone, we recharged 860 million gallons back into the aquifer. Florida's natural wonder is our springs, and many do not know, but Florida, North Florida, is home to the largest concentration of first magnitude springs, which is a flow rate of greater than 64 million gallons per day. Not only, this is higher concentration than not only in the US, but in the world. In efforts to protect these natural wonders, the state of Florida has a multitude of projects designed to reduce our impacts to our springs, maintaining minimum flow levels, and reducing nutrients in the BMAP zones. In closing, many wastewater operators have the view of being environmental stewards, doing our part to protect our natural resources, ensuring human activities do not affect our waterways and aquifer. I am fortunate to work with excellent colleagues that together we accomplish a critical job that protects our environment and for years and generations to come. Is there any questions?
We do have a question from Mr. Jerkin.
Yes, I do have a question. Can you say you've been with the city of Lake City? How long have you been with the city of Lake City?
For 12 years.
For 12 years. And where do you get your training from? I mean, where do you get your training from?
The training, I've been fortunate enough to start all the way down at the very bottom as a trainee, and I have worked all the way up to where I'm at currently through the progressive licenses.
Yes, sir. So the training is right here in Lake City, or do you at the University of Florida?
I also-
Big time Gator fan.
I also have an AS degree from the Florida Gateway College for the environmental science.
Okay. I just want to let you know your job is very, very critical, and I appreciate the job that you do out there, because water we cannot live on this planet without water. So I just want to let you know how much I appreciate the job that you're doing out there. So keep up the good work, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. Does anybody else have any questions? Mr. Todd?
Thank you for the presentation. I did a tour of the facility with Cody 2 weeks ago, and it's really, really impressive.
Thank you very much. I'll mimic those thoughts as well. All right, thank you, Mr. Todd. Our next presentation will be Mr. Cameron Myers and Ms. Cheyenne Myers from Fox Lagoon. Short video. Are you guys presenting as well?
Yeah, we're gonna let the video, unless you want to stand up there while the video is playing.
You know, there's not much to do. We always have to leave town just to find something fun. Something like that just didn't exist until now.
Welcome to Fox Lagoon. It's a place where we don't have to go out of town to find fun. Fox Lagoon is for all of us, a place to escape the everyday routine, to make memories, and to finally have the fun and connection we've all been waiting for. Here, you won't have to travel far to feel a world away. Picture yourself on a tropical white sand beach, beside turquoise waters, just moments from your front door. With the introduction of our innovative public access lagoon, a simple property is transformed into a vibrant hub of activities, appealing to everyone. Whether you're enjoying cocktails by the crystal clear water, or watching your kids play in the splash pad, or taking in the sun in a daybed, Fox Lagoon is the ultimate gathering place of the 21st century, the most beautiful destination in the city. This isn't just a water park, it's a whole new entertainment experience. With daily lagoon passes, villa rentals, and primitive camping, you can spend your weekend lounging at beach bars, playing pickleball, or enjoying putt-putt. This is not the future, this is the present at Fox Lagoon. Our 20,000 square foot venue, overlooking the lagoon, offers private access for weddings, special events, and meetings for city and county officials in a stunning setting. Our premier high-end RV resort blends nature with luxury, offering pull-through concrete sites, high-speed internet, a heated pool, clubhouse, and more. With golf cart rentals and a spacious dog park, you'll enjoy the perfect mix of adventure and comfort. Rent a cabana, kayak, or paddleboard for a day on the water. Our lagoon is designed to be the heart of the community, a place for weddings, events, concerts, field trips, and more. Enjoy local food trucks and support our vendors. With rising shark encounters, Fox Lagoon offers a safer, controlled water environment, using 33 times less water than a golf course. By bringing the beach close to home, we reduce travel and lower our carbon footprint. And at Fox Lagoon, giving back is what we do best. We pledge 1% of our profits to support the community with a focus on our youth. This commitment helps us build a brighter future together. Fox Lagoon, where you're always just moments away from paradise.
Thank you, everyone. Hello. Good evening, Mayor Walker, City Council members, and everyone in attendance. My name is Cameron Myers, and I'm here tonight representing Fox Lagoon, an ambitious tourism development project that we're incredibly excited to bring into the community. As someone who was born and raised in this county, I take immense pride in our city and am deeply invested in its growth and future. That's why this project is so important to me personally, because it's not just about development, it's about creating something extraordinary for the community I've always called home. I've had the pleasure of speaking with a few of you individually, and in our last conversation with City Manager Mr. Rosenthal, we discussed how we're all waiting on finalized numbers and exact figures. Today, I'm here to share more about our vision and move this dialogue forward. For those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet yet, Fox Lagoon is a roughly $170 million tourism destination that promises to redefine this area. At its heart will be an 8-acre crystal lagoon offering stunning amenities that cater to both kids and adults alike. In addition, we're planning a high-end resort that will elevate the hospitality industry, offering luxurious accommodations, activities, and services that will attract visitors from far and wide. Our development team has significant experience, having built 8 of the past Crystal Lagoons across the United States. Our operations team is actively managing and operating 4 Crystal Lagoons and over a dozen different water parks and hotels across the country today. Our financing partner has over $2 billion in capital development assets in their current portfolio, with 8 million square feet of projects constructed and acquired in the last few years. We're thrilled to share that we have garnered the full support of county officials and the economic development team, who are just enthusiastic about this tremendous impact on this project will have. Utilizing a finance lease P3 arrangement, we have secured funding for the project, but need the city's participation to bring this to reality. By building on the old Sprayfield site, we have the means to develop an underutilized tract of city-owned land to create jobs, additional tax revenue, and direct revenue for the city. Through a public-private partnership, we also have a way to assist the city in developing its credit rating and diversifying its tax base. This project presents a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to spark an economic boom in this region and deliver a world-class amenity to city residents. Fox Lagoon will not only bring in significant tourism revenue, but will also provide much-needed recreation for our youth, addressing a long-standing gap in family-friendly activities in this area. We've seen a groundswell of public interest in just a short time. Our Facebook page has gained over 10,000 followers in less than a week. The posted videos give a vivid glimpse of what the project entails, and I encourage everyone here, including members of the public, to take a look. Tonight, we are respectfully requesting to begin actively engaging with the city council, city staff, and all interested parties to move the project forward. We have a window of opportunity to bring the operations team into town to meet in person, and we would like to take full opportunity of that time to explore and advance the project. I have business cards available for each of you and extras for anyone else interested. It's on the table in the front. Let's connect after tonight's meeting to finalize a date for further discussion. Thank you all so much for your time, your attention, and your commitment to the future of this community. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Myers?
Of course, I got a question. I'm just, I know you're reading, your notes and, you showed the video,
Yes, sir.
however, can you tell me or tell us, where the closest lagoon is that you and your partners have created or built?
Bill, I'll right here.
No, you can just tell me.
He's gonna show a
Okay.
picture.
This is, go ahead.
This is Evermore in Orlando. This is an 8-acre lagoon, which is the same size that we're trying to do. This is built on a 1,200-acre golf course. And they added the amenity. They have, you can only go to this one though if you stay there. So it's a little bit of a different,
This
hotel.
is different business model. So the closest one that we've done is in Orlando. The closest one that we've done is in Orlando. That was the most recent before the one that just got completed in California, Palm Springs for Disney World. Our builder and development team are finishing the one in Disney World, which is a 24-acre lagoon. Our operations team out of Texas is also involved in that one as well.
So you chose the city of Lake City,
Yes, sir.
which is your hometown,
Yes, sir.
and you're trying to bring to Lake City and Columbia County something very, very special.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Journeyman. Anybody else?
Is there any way that the council could possibly visit the Orlando?
Absolutely.
So
We can
see?
definitely get you guys a ticket in. We can give you a tour of the whole place. The closest one is that anybody can go to for a public access is near Tampa. So the one in Orlando, you have to spend $1,000, a weekend to stay at the really nice flats and everything. But Tampa, which is what our business model is, will be sort of like the public access lagoon. You pay $25, you get all day access to all the facilities, activities. We're having, our business model is a high-end resort. So a high-end RV park, people from up north will come down here. We're the gateway to Florida, so RV parks, everybody knows, is skyrocketing, and any kind of amenity is,
So you did say you spoke with Mr. Rosenthal about it?
I have been speaking to Mr. Rosenthal since his first week here. I have spoken with a few of the council members before you, yes ma'am. And we didn't have everything prepared, but we're back giving our presentation. We have everything ready to go. We just are giving this presentation to get everybody's attention and to let you guys know that we're ready. And if you guys, are interested in setting up meetings with our operations team and getting into much more details, I think it's something that you would absolutely love to hear.
Vice Mayor Young, you got a question?
I would like for you to announce, if you will, again, what is it that you want from the city? What do you expect from the city?
Great question. The property off of Branford Highway, the old spray fields that aren't being used, they haven't been being used in the past 9 years. There's no future plans to do anything with that property. There's 460 acres. We need around 300. We are leasing it for 99 years. We're joining in a P3 arrangement, like I mentioned. And so you guys will, city and government, when they do developments, they normally just benefit off of taxes. But in this case, in our situation, you guys will benefit off of the revenue as well. We only need to lease the city-owned property.
Who told you there are no future plans for this property?
I have asked a few people and they
No. Who told you
specifically,
there are no future plans for this property?
I'm gonna go with Mr. Rosenthal. Last time I spoke with him, he said, I said, you haven't used the property in the past 9 years. This has been the biggest issue, just trying to get over this hurdle of the property that's just sitting there. And then he said, we might not even use it for another 9 years.
If I may, that didn't mean that we didn't have a use for the property. The city thinks long-term.
Okay.
That property was purchased to be used by for water and wastewater. And to the best of my understanding, it's still needed for that purpose. So, no, we haven't used it in 9 years, or we may not use it for another 9 years. That doesn't mean that we don't need it.
Right, that's completely understandable. That's why we're here, because if the council thinks that this project is better than what some future might happen on that piece of property, then, I mean, instead of sitting on something for 10 years, why not make millions of dollars for the city and have an economic boom in this whole entire area? And something for the kids to do all around. Everybody on the gossip page has been asking for it.
If I could ask one other question.
Yes, ma'am.
And this question may be directed to administration. If this property has rested this long, has to be a reason for it resting. When I say rested, just we haven't done anything else with it or haven't allowed anyone else to do anything with it. What would we do this property for?
Well, I'm gonna ask Cody to come up and talk about that.
Mr. Bridget's gonna answer the question that was.
But he's gonna answer the question of what we need the property for.
Yes, sir. Just a little further down on the agenda and in the agenda packet, I submitted a proposal to Midtower and Associates to look at doing effluent disposal out there. Give you a little history on the Branford side. It wasn't a spray field. It was permitted right now for biosolids disposal. And the city used it for a long time. A little bit before I came, they started contract hauling the biosolids. And we were looking at using that site for future effluent disposal, the treated wastewater. As everybody knows, the city's growing really quick. Our current annual average daily flow is almost 2.5 million gallons a day going to the disposal side. That's only permitted for 3 million gallons a day. So very soon, we're gonna need to expand on that. And in my opinion, this is the best place to do it. We already own the land, the soils are suitable for it, and the proposal from Midtower is to tell us the best method and how much they expect it to cost.
And Cody, if I may, that some think that the Environmental Protection Agency doesn't want any more spray fields. Is that true?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
So what does the Environmental Protection Agency want with spray fields? Want us to do with our spray fields?
With our spray fields?
Right. They just don't want unlined spray fields, right?
Wetlands. They don't want unlined wetlands. And as long as the treated water meets the requirements, it can go on the spray fields or wetlands or rapid infiltration basins. There's a multitude of ways you can dispose of it, but it all has different requirements that have to be met.
Because some people were under the impression that the Environmental Protection Agency didn't want wetlands anymore.
That's not my knowledge. We got a grant to do the Steely field right now, so I don't think they would have gave us a grant if they didn't want them. They just want them lined.
Absolutely.
Our existing wetland is not lined. It was constructed in 2016, and since then, they've changed their stance on that. They want them aligned.
Okay, thank you, Cody. Any more questions for Cody?
We have one more question from Vice Mayor Young.
I have one more question. So if we allow this property to be used for this project, is there property elsewhere that we would be able to use if we needed it for this?
Yes, but we would pay through the nose like everybody else. Property. The city was wise in buying this property a long time ago for a very reasonable price for this purpose. So if we gave it up for some other purpose, we would be, I think we would be remiss, because we would have to buy some more property at some point very soon. Our capacity right now is 3 million. We're at 2.5 million. So very soon we're going to need to do something. And this is where we intended to do that.
So is it not wise that we do this?
I don't think so. No. I think we should keep it for the purpose that we had. It was originally purchased for. And staff is advising me that we're at 2.5 million. We get to 3 million. We're going to need it.
Okay. Mr. President, thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Myers.
Can we continue, please?
Can I
Sure, you
address it.
Does Cody know how many acres of land you guys need? Because we don't need the whole parcel.
Cody?
There's 460.
Yeah.
And with buying property somewhere
Sure.
else.
So Cody's gonna answer the question.
So our current effluent disposal site, total 360 acres for 3 NGD. The soil, this was what the study that Midtower, we're proposing that we let Midtower do, is going to determine how much land we need for the effluent disposal, because each site is different. They have to go out there and get soil borings and do the test and all that, see how much we can put on the ground that'll soak into it.
Okay.
So
Thank
that's
you.
to be determined.
And just for you guys, I don't think that we're going to be making a decision tonight, so.
There's no action tonight. It's just presentation, awareness.
Sure. So that's where,
Yes, sir.
that's where getting Cody and Don together after the fact.
Right, yes, sir.
And finding out those answers.
Yes, sir. And with purchasing other property, yes, it does take money to do that, but we will make the city so much more money that it'll be completely worth it for you to put your spray field somewhere else.
It's a partnership, so the city would be part ownership in the company.
It's not.
They were sitting in
You would have equity in the entire, you would also get part of the revenue. I mean, you do whatever you want with the money. Boys and Girls Clubs, buy whatever you want, whatever property. We can have this done in 2 years. As soon as we get this property, we can have it built in less than 2 years. I don't think anything's gonna be done with that spray field in 2 years.
Thank you for the presentation.
Yes, sir. Thanks,
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Thank you, guys.
We're gonna move on to old business, and we are currently at item number 6. And we will open up, so this is a discussion of possible action from Michael Cavendish of Cavendish Partners legal opinion on the matter involving final payment made to the departing city manager Paul Dial. In this, we will go ahead and open up public comments. First, Mr. Cavendish, if you don't mind. And we'll start those with Mr. Ben Lostrom.
Hey, my name is Ben Lofstrom. My comments are real simple. It seems like you shouldn't have gotten paid, so we need to figure out how to get our money back. Super simple. Thank you.
Mr. Bowden.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I had the opportunity to be at the meeting when Mr. Sampson, former Councilman Sampson, brought up the issue about the overpayment to Mr. Dye at the time. And I remember the discussion at the city council, 3-2 vote to move forward, but it took him almost an hour just to get to that 3-2 vote. I remember comments like, we need to just let it go. we need to move on to something else. But I'm here tonight to suggest to you that, this is nothing that you should move on from. This is the people money. It's the taxpayers' money. And it's not something that you just forget about it and just excuse it as if it's nothing. Mr. Jernigan always say, I got a lot of questions to ask, but I remember that meeting, I didn't hear any questions of any significance that related to that issue at the time that Mr. Sampson brought it up. So I would encourage the city council tonight to do the right thing on behalf of the people of the city of Lake City and do whatever you can to recoup our money. And I'm not throwing Mr. Dow under the bus. I don't blame Mr. Dow for coming up with that proposal. I blame the administration for accepting it. I blame the city council for not doing their due diligence. If you had read this report, now, and had read Mr. Dow's agreement, there's no way anybody in good conscience could have sit up here and say that's a good thing. If you had read it when it came out, if you said it was a good thing, then you should not be able to sit there. You should resign and accuse yourself and even have anything to do with it. But my comments tonight to you is that do the right thing on behalf of the people of the city of Lake City and see if we can get our money back. Thank you very much.
Mr. Warren.
Thank you for recognizing me, Mr. Mayor Sylvester Warren. First thing I want to do is say that as far as our spray fields, it would be very unwise. I'm gonna stick to the topic. I just want to reiterate how important it is that we up our consumption use permit and charge water in the spray field. It's very important. It's very, Mayor, you ain't even not properly dressed, so just hold on. And then last week.
We're on item 6.
Right,
so
I
I'm
understand
speaking to item
what you're saying.
I'm being very strict tonight, so speak to item 6 and item 6 alone. You have 2 minutes and 30 seconds left.
And you don't have to point, it's disrespectful to point your finger. Don't be disrespectful to me. All right, I heard what you, I can hear. I got ears, I don't need you pointing at me, I ain't your child. So, let me lay this out to you, boy. So, what's important is that everybody up here, right, besides maybe the new council members, it's not Paul Dow's fault. It's the people who voted, it's the people who allowed the mayor to sign it. Clay Martin his whole law firm was a part of it. Y'all gonna throw Todd Kennedy under the bus? No, it wasn't just one law firm. It was the whole combined law firm that did it. So if you're gonna go after someone's insurance company, if that ends up being the case, you shouldn't just go after Todd's own. You should go after all the attorneys, right? And if you want Paul Dow money back, right, you should file ethics complaints on all of the council members that were here that claim they read the agenda, but as we see, the only person that was reading the agenda at that time was Todd Sampson, right? The only person that I know at this time that reads the full agenda based on their interaction with the council and the public and seems to be knowledgeable about the issue is you, Mr. Carter. That's just how I see it. I watch the meetings, I don't always come to them, right? But the facts are the facts. The likelihood of you getting that money back from Paul Dow hanging out in Alaska, right? You have to sue him. And he's not gonna get the money back, right? And that's a game that can be chased and played forever, right? Now, what should happen is, what I would love to happen is, I would love for us not to get the money back. You know why? Because it would show each and every one of us in the room what we voted for. The mistake we made by putting certain people on the council who did not have our best interests at heart when we elected them and they promised us that they would. So this should be one of these situations in 2026, we remember these names and these faces and we send them packing. And we get the right people who will have the eyes for us and the ears for us and do like we want and what we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sampson.
Mr. Mayor, council, employees, it's nice to see you up here. I'm glad we finally got to this point. It did take quite a bit of work. Mr. Dodd's negotiated settlement was hidden from the council at the time. No one reached out to me to ask this question. I didn't know about it until I found out about it in normal review and asking questions about budgeted items. It was hidden by employees that still work at the city. It's unfortunate that that's the case. We should have all been informed of it as council members at the time and known about it. The right thing to do is to go after it on 3 fronts. First, the attorney authorized. I spoke to Mr. Kennedy in person. Again, no one asked me about this. I haven't been questioned by the person who is doing the investigation. He told me that he read it in such a way that Mr. Dowles owed the money, which is absolutely patently not possible. If anyone with any sense reads that contract, you know it's not possible that he was owed that money. Secondarily, it was authorized to pay by city employees I met with once I found out about, and they said that they would continue paying it until it was paid out because the attorney authorized it. There's other items I don't see in the report that probably should have been there. I'm not even sure that there wouldn't be criminal charges here and the state's attorney should be involved. It's just, this is a felony that's been committed. I mean, it's unreal that in this day and age, we can try and go around people that we know pay attention to try and get the result we want. And we had to fight like hell to get a 3-2 vote to get this investigation. We spent over an hour in one meeting just to convince people to get the third vote. And I do not think it would be wise to take light of the people's money and not try to go after it. And I'm not talking about just Mr. Dial. We had a mayor that was an attorney that knows what he's signing and can read a contract and understand it. Not one time did that mayor, who went through multiple other city managers leaving and never doing this without council approval, but he did it here. And we asked him at the meeting, it's on the meeting record, if you'll go back and look at the meeting, he was asked, and he said, I was informed by the attorney. Well, that's not a good answer. Mr. Mayor, I would encourage you don't sign things without at least reading it and understanding it. The mayor cannot take money and assign it for a purpose without the council's approval. And that's what happened. The mayor and the attorney got together with Mr. Dial, the finance department, and the management at the time, and decided that Mr. Dial was getting that money. I don't know who all made that decision, but then they hid it. And we had to fight to get the information. And then when I got the information, people got mad saying, how'd you get the information? So the fact of the matter is, transparency is crucial in government. And I do think that you will find possibly in a very difficult case to get E&O insurance, very difficult. But I do think it's worth a shot. I am glad you have independent counsel, and I would say your current counsel probably needs to go down the road. Just for allowing that to happen, how it needs to be shut down. And that's all I've got to say about that, and I hope you guys have a great night.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. Mr. Loker.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Item number 6 states discussion and possible action. Michael Cavendish, Cavendish Partners, legal opinion on a matter involving final employment payment made to departing city manager Paul Dial. I don't know, we all know that they changed the law in 2013 and gave the public the right to speak on a proposition before the board. This is not a proposition. You guys have been doing this wrong the whole time. I mean, I don't know if you're here to approve Mr. Cavendish's report. I thought it was pretty good. And I actually went to the Florida bar to look up. I said, there's no way that this guy went to law school in Florida. And he did. And I said, damn, that's pretty good. I said, so anybody that read the report, which I read about 600 times to get it down to 1,200 words, and read all the other stories, pretty well knows what went on. But nobody knows tonight. Nobody. I don't know. You may know. I don't think anybody in the audience knows. They have opinions on whether or not Mr. Dial should get paid, or whether at the finance department wrote a check or a bunch of checks without authorization, whether the attorney should have his E&O, and Mr. Morton did whatever he did. But nobody knows what the proposition before the board is. So people are coming up here and giving you opinions on what? You know, you guys gotta get your act straightened out. What is everybody giving an opinion on? You know, you think Mr. Dial should have got $250,000 after resigning 4 days after he took a job in Homer, Alaska? And how do I know? Because I spoke to the people in Homer, Alaska. And they spoke to me. So I pretty well knew what was going on at that time. But what is the proposition, the possible action? And you're doing it wrong. Sorry, you are doing it wrong. And that's another reason that the attorney has to get up to speed on this, and the city council has to get up to speed on this, and Your Honor has to get up to speed on this, because you may decide to want to think about Mr. Cavendish's report for another week, I don't know, or 2 weeks, or another month, and come up with an action. But right now, there is nothing here that you guys do that the public can comment on with any sort of accuracy, because nobody knows what you guys are going to do. And I would respectfully ask that your attorney and you folks think about that for a while. Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Lilker.
Mr. Mayor, if I can address that since it's before the board at the moment.
Well, I'll address it too. My intention was to allow public comment on the broad topic, then to have a discussion, have the proposition, and then reopen public comment. That was my intention.
You nailed it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cavendish.
Mr. Mayor, Council, good evening.
Thank you for being with us tonight, Mr. Cavendish.
Thank you for having me. I've met most of you. I am the outside attorney who you, the council, retained to deliver a legal opinion on the post-employment payments to former city manager Paul Dial. I delivered my legal opinion in writing. I think everyone's had a chance to read it. The council did ask me to come to tonight's meeting in case you want to instruct me on any questions or anything like that.
And it's my intention for you to present the 4 items, I believe is what they were. If you could walk us through those.
Okay, I am prepared to do that.
Thank you.
Mr. Paul Dial was hired in the position of city manager by a vote of this council enacting a resolution on January 23rd of 2023. He voluntarily resigned this employment and this position and worked his final day some 9 to 10 months later in September or October of 2023. After the city learned of his voluntary resignation, a written agreement to define the terms of his separation from employment was prepared and ultimately signed by the then serving mayor and approved as to form by the then serving city attorney. It was also, of course, signed by Mr. Dial, signing as the separating employee. This written separation agreement called for the city to make 3 types of lump sum payments to Mr. Dial. First, he was to be paid 16 weeks worth of salary. 16 weeks of his salary, which was scheduled at $150,000 a year, amounts to about $46,000 before taxes and withholdings are deducted. Secondly, he was to be paid a lump sum for accrued vacation time, also called annual leave. Third, he was to be paid a lump sum for accrued sick leave time. The city finance department processed these payments. They did the calculations of these lump sums internally, and then they cut the checks and mailed them to Mr. Dial. Neither the written separation agreement nor the amounts of the 3 lump sum payments were brought before the city council. A different way of saying that is to say that the written separation agreement was prepared and signed, and the 3 lump sum payments were calculated and paid without either of those actions being brought before council for discussion or for a voted approval in the same manner that Mr. Dial's hiring and setting of salary had been done 10 months earlier at the start of 2023. Central to my legal opinions are that the city has a code of ordinances. The code of the city in Florida functions as both its constitution and its statutes. Your code describes fundamental powers that, for example, you as the city council have. Your code also defines certain operational or procedural rules, which we'll call local laws, that frame how the city goes about operating itself. There is a legal principle that applies to every city in the state of Florida, to every city in America. It's pronounced ultra vires. It's spelled U-L-T-R-A-V-I-R-E-S. It is one of those legal Latin terms. It translates to without authority. And it operates by nullifying, by rendering null and void, an action that a municipality takes that goes against that city's code or other sources of law that constrain a city's power, such as state statutes or various rulings of the Supreme Court. If your code provides that payments of money may only be done in certain ways or with certain approvals, then a payment that fails to follow that code provision, a payment that has not received the approval the code requires, would be seen in legal terms as an action that is ultra vires and therefore void. My written opinion to the council is given in 4 parts. Part 1, the Paul Dial written separation agreement, once it was in final signable form, should have been presented to this council for approval, both of the agreement itself and of the lump sum payments it referenced. Part 2, the city council had the authority to approve paying Mr. Dial a lump sum payment equal to 16 weeks of salary as a post-employment payment. However, it does not seem that the council actually exercised this authority to consider and approve a post-employment sum in the specific event that the reason for his departure was a voluntary resignation. As a non-approved expense in excess of $5,000 under section 382 and 2354 of your code, the 16-week payment is considered ultra vires and can be considered null and void. Now, before I move on from opinion 2, the obvious question that many of you would have is, can this council, if it chose to, approve this payment of 16 weeks salary post-employment to Mr. Dial after a voluntary resignation? In terms of your raw power, your constitutional power under your code, the answer is yes. You have that power if you ever chose to exercise it. You could ratify the fact that this was made in the circumstances we have and essentially cure the non-approved status that causes that code defect. This council is my client. In preparing this legal opinion, I have been your lawyer. It is therefore important that I remind you of that power. Opinion part 3, the sick leave payment. Your city has a written personnel manual. It's also called your employee handbook. It was adopted by an ordinance passed by council and was made part of this city's code. This manual caps the number of hours of sick pay that the city may pay out in cash to any employee upon their departure. The manual caps sick leave at the lower of 500 hours or 25% of an employee's accrued hours. Mr. Dial had been a city employee for a very long time before he was appointed city manager, and he had a large number of hours saved up for both sick leave and vacation, as kept track of by the city's finance system maintained by the finance department. If the 500-hour maximum cap was applied to Mr. Dial's cashed out sick leave, the payment for that lump sum component to him would have been about $36,000. The lump sum payment he got for that component was $127,000. This created an overpayment to him for sick leave hours above the maximum cap that is imposed by your written manual and the code of $91,000. This payment of the extra $91,000 to Mr. Dial that was above the sick leave cap was, again, ultra vires because it ignored the cap. In Florida, if the city were to pursue a civil legal action against Mr. Dial to recover the excess sick leave payment, $91,000, the most basic claim the city could assert was that an overpayment has occurred, and the common law claim that any employer, whether it's a city or a bank or an insurance company, can bring for an overpayment they make is called money had and received. Part 4. This same cap-busting problem occurred with regard to the lump sum payment for vacation leave, albeit for a smaller amount. Mr. Dial received a lump sum payment amounting to 400 hours of saved up vacation or annual leave pay. The manual's maximum cap for that is 320 hours. The extra 80 hours of vacation pay that was paid to Mr. Dial above the cap amounts to about $5,700. So together, the two overpayments to Mr. Dial of sick leave pay and vacation pay amount to between $96,000 and $97,000. This has been a summary of the 4 opinions included in the written legal opinion delivered to council. The written opinion obviously contains much more content, and I do not feel it's a good idea for me to recite it from memory, so I will end my presentation here and let you instruct me as to your further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Cavendish. I will now open up for council questions for Mr. Cavendish.
So I want to understand this. You said the mayor, the attorney, and Mr. Dow came together and made this agreement without the council?
In the simplest terms, the agreement was set up to have 3 signatures. 3 people signed it. 2 people signed it on behalf of the city, and Mr. Dial signed it on his own behalf. That is commonly the way contracts are created. They're typed up, they're edited and proofread and refined until they're ready to be signed. And then the people whose names appear in the blanks sign them. But since this was a municipal contract that would affect a budget reallocation and call for payments in excess of $5,000, that brings your city's code into play. And my conclusion, that was part of my legal opinion, was that the provision of code that required that final form of agreement with those payments that were anticipated, per the code, should have been brought before the council for discussion and approval, and that did not happen.
So if you are to say who is wrong, who would you say is wrong in this? Surely it's not Mr. Dow, because he was on the receiving end. Who would you say was in the wrong for this happening?
Councilmember, I need to answer your question in a couple of different ways. One is that in preparing a legal opinion of the kind that I was asked to prepare and prepared, it is very important that the attorney doing the review does not create new evidence, right? Because if any aspect of this episode were ever part of an actual legal proceeding in a court, the court would only want to hear from original witnesses and look at original documents and consider original evidence. The court would not want someone who was a stranger to everything that happened to give an opinion about whether something was right or something was wrong, whether that's morally, ethically, legally.
So my question should probably go to Mr. Clay.
Well, I think that it's above my pay grade to instruct this council on how to have its discussions. And so I can't answer that, but I would, as your attorney in this limited matter, the council is my client, I would caution everyone to be mindful about using language that appears to pass a final judgment on something that so far has only been the subject of an initial legal opinion, and that you as a council may do more review, investigation, discussion of. The reason being, it's very easy for attorneys, I'm gonna pick on my own profession here, to take a single phrase or a single word that someone uses in a recorded public meeting and to try and turn that into evidence. And that can create more expense, more headaches for future lawsuit parties, future lawyers, future judges. And so we try to avoid that if we can.
Councilman Carter?
Just to be clear, Mr. Cavendish, first of all, thank you for preparing this. It was great. I've read it about 11 times. It's not fun to read. Just to be clear, it is your opinion that the city is in fact owed this money. It was paid out, ultra vires, as you said, without authority. And if we chose to pursue getting the money back, we would have a case.
There is no doubt that my written opinion concludes that the money was paid out in a manner that violated the city's code, such that it would be considered ultra vires.
I had some questions, and you know, I have met over this. It's a pretty complicated matter, right? In reading this matter and meeting with staff, there was a budget amendment number 2024-131 that I forwarded to your office as our attorney in this matter. And it was not factored into this opinion. I'm saying that I'm just airing this out for the council to consider as we move forward in discussion. Because it's my opinion that our council in this manner needs to take this information into account. It was a budget amendment that was made on November 4th, 2024. And it doesn't expressly cure this matter, but I want to have Mr. Cavendish, I want to have his a supplemental opinion including this. That is my wish on the matter. So, is that something you would suggest, Mr. Cavendish?
Sure, with the mayor's approval, I can add a little bit of context in terms of what my advice to the council on it is. I was engaged in the late summer of last year. I did my work in terms of talking to witnesses and reading documents. From then until the beginning of November or mid-November, then I wrote my opinion. The opinion was finished in December, and then it was delivered to you closer to the start of this year. Apparently, in the final meeting of last year's council, after I had talked to all the witnesses, gotten all the documents, written opinion, there was a budget-related resolution that came before this council in which the dial payments were mentioned. And so this was communicated to me last week, and the question was, can you just let us know what this changes, or if this changes anything, or what the effect is? And my response was, I can't say off the cuff. I'd have to learn more about what this act of the November 2024 council was, understand the context, probably talk to some people like I did with this opinion, and then I could probably form a legal opinion as to it has an effect, it doesn't have an effect, or a third possibility. So that was my response to your mayor. If this council asks me to look at this November 24 resolution as an addendum to the opinion that I've delivered, I can do so. But it will require a similar process to what I went through to create the first one.
It is my thought that we need to have the firmest ground to stand on whenever pursuing this matter. That's why I said that to Mr. Cavendish. Do you have a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Sure.
I know you have, you gave us your opinion, and legally, I totally understood your opinion. Did you ever talk to the attorney and what we should or should not be doing in this case, or this action, overpayment? Did you ever talk to the attorney? It's good that you can talk to me, you can talk to all these other councils, you can do that. But from an attorney to another attorney, you pretty much understand each other, but sometimes when y'all talk, I don't understand it, I'll be honest with you. But y'all understand each other, so did you give him your opinion, or did you give him a fact on this matter?
Okay. I think that's actually several questions, so let me just try and take them one at a time.
I apologize for doing that, because I sit by this attorney, he does that to me all the time, so I apologize for doing that. But did you and him communicate your opinion and what the council should or should not do?
Okay. I have not spoken to Mr. Martin, and that's by design. Let me tell you why. When you do a legal opinion like this, you want to base it as tightly as you can on primary sources. people that were there, people that did something, documents that create law like your code. Not only for optics, because you don't want someone to think that there was some kind of, side conversation going on about what the opinion should be, but also legal opinions that are written like that in a vacuum tend to hold up better over time. Now, the second part of your question is, did I speak to your city attorney about what y'all should do about this next? The answer to that is also no. That is because we have two very different jobs. Your city attorney is your full-time legal advisor on what to do as you operate your city on a day-to-day basis. It's a key job. Every city in Florida has one, whether it's part-time or full-time. I was only retained to do a legal opinion. And so it's not something that I've been asked to do, to talk about what should you do. Now, it's a common conversation that you will have with your city attorney, because every individual and every business in Florida that believes they're owed money, what do? They go to a lawyer and they say, what are my chances, and how much is this going to cost, and how long is it going to take? All those common questions. So that is a separate role, and that was not the role that I was engaged to perform.
I have a question for you, actually, Mr. Mayor. The item you were talking about was addressed after the fact. What are any of the details of that? Was it something that was in discussion? What is it that seems like it didn't hurt?
It didn't seem, so part of the opinion was that these payments were wrong due to the fact that they were unbudgeted items.
No, I believe it's due to the fact that they were not approved by the council.
Mr. Cavendish, so there were several reasons that they were wrong. One, that they weren't approved. Two, that they were not to code. Three, that they were unbudgeted items. And I can't recall the fourth one off the top of my head, but that's correct, right?
Right, so with the mayor's approval, I'll just address the council member's question. The legal opinion cites different sections of the code that require different things as to payments. One is budgeting, one is approval if it's over $5,000, and then when we get into the two benefits payments, it's the manual and the caps. In this document, which it might be that I might recommend as your lawyer on this matter that you all read it. It's short, it's a few pages. It reports on a number of budget items that had to change during that fiscal year. And it appears to be something that goes to Tallahassee, to the Department of Community Affairs, where all the cities report, we budgeted this way at the start of the year, but then some things happened and, we needed more sprinklers or whatever it was, and so we changed the budget. So it's that kind of document in appearance. One of the line items, and it includes, are the dial payments. Okay. So from that inclusion, the question came to me, does this have an effect on your opinion? Does this have an effect on the part of your opinion that talks about the code and approved or unapproved?
Mr. Mayor, I would say that it sounds like that does sound like it may be relevant to certain interesting legal aspects of that, like the budget being changed, and maybe, again, like everything else that happened involving this, without it being put before the council at any point. But I certainly think we can still discuss. I mean, obviously, if the council decides we'd like to have Mr. Cavendish look deeper into this and see if that's relevant and will affect our chances, so to speak, if we were to take this to court, for instance. But all the other things are still true. It still was done behind the council's back. It still was paid out. It was not budgeted for. If they put it in the budget afterwards, it may be. And if the council wants to find out if that's relevant, but it wouldn't be relevant to, it was not approved.
I completely agree. So the only reason that I bring it up is to make sure that we have the most solid ground in pursuing those funds.
Mr. Cavendish, if we asked you to look into this, what kind of money, what kind of time would you talk about to find out that information?
It's a more limited issue than the initial opinion, so it should require fewer hours. My invoice for the completion of the initial opinion was $4,000. That's hourly time, so it would be less than that. That's about all I can say.
Well, having that added to it, Mr. Mayor, I think that we need to discuss whether or not we want to do that also. But I just want to make my feelings clear on this. I do think we need to pursue getting that money back. Unless he comes back, we decide to do that, and he comes back and has some information like, oh, you can't for some reason or another. But it's absurd. It seems like reading that report was embarrassing, and anybody else who's read it, I'm sure will feel the same way. It feels like it was everything was done wrong at every point. The only thing is, it's tough. I don't know, and I don't know if there's a separate investigation or something like that we're looking into where the blame lies. Obviously, Mr. Dow, as city manager, was a crucial employee as far as what comes to, and it does not come in front of the council to begin with. So, him being the person who didn't bring it to us and also benefited from it makes that question very tricky. But we absolutely should attempt to get that money down. And any suggestion otherwise is in my opinion.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, please. Councilmember Carter, I just want to emphasize that as I work with the council, if I'm asked to do a further opinion, I'm going to make sure that it's clarified up front what the scope of that is. If it is looking at this additional resolution and looking at the legal effect of that, that would be one discrete component. If the council wants legal advice as to what are the practicalities of something like a lawsuit, that's really a separate component, and I would urge the council to discuss that with your city attorney first. Those are often conversations that are best had locally for a variety of practical reasons. It's sometimes the easiest to assess the real-world practicalities, costs, benefits, things like that, with someone who participates in the local legal market on a daily basis, as opposed to someone who's out.
I have one more question. Please. To be clear, the way that I read your opinions, I was under the impression, or I was given the impression that we really kind of seesawing between two main options: pursue some sort of getting the funds back action, or which I think is preposterous, ratifying decisions that were already made that were bad decisions. Am I understanding that something must be done? That what's happened is definitely incorrect, and either it needs to be addressed and repaired. It's not making sense. I'm sorry, we'll get into the legal stuff here, but it seems to me that there's two options. Am I mistaken?
I think that every city in this state of your size or larger has gone through the loss of money in some fashion or form. And each one of those cities has had to go through a decision-making process as to, do we go after it? What is the vehicle to go after it? Do we send a demand letter? Do we go to a collection agency? Do we start a lawsuit? Those are practical decisions that have monetary costs that you must choose between. And so I think, in my experience, what every city does is they have those conversations, whether they form a committee, whether they have dedicated full-time personnel, to hash through that. They have those conversations and then make a decision, and that's also what every private company does too. Sometimes they pursue the legal claim, sometimes they don't. And I want to emphasize that in writing this opinion, I tried to be very careful not to recommend a further course of action, because although you've hired me, I do not know any of you. I do not know your decision-making. I do not know how you like to handle the business of local government. And it would be presumptuous of me to prejudge that and to push you one way or the other.
My thoughts are, similarly aligned with Mr. Cavendish, after reading the annuals, is that we started out in the form of, do we ratify past judgment, or do we pursue? And in my further thinking was, how do we pursue? And who is involved in how we pursue? My thought is there are several different things that we need to pursue here. One being the legal aspect, one being policy aspect, and then one being the governing aspect, right? So to summarize what I'm saying is, I also thought that a committee would be well formed for this, with a member of the council, a member who holds power over policy in the city, and then our legal advice who would be representing us if we pursued it. Does that make sense? Because we don't, unless we want to discuss ad nauseum and come to a conclusion of this is how we're going to proceed through the courts tonight, which I don't think would be well advised. I think that we should make a decision on whether or not to pursue, and then come back with a recommendation on how we pursue with the Mr. Monk. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me. I appreciate the deference from council to the city attorney's role notwithstanding. Because our firm was co-counsel of record with Mr. Kennan's firm at the time, I don't know that it would be appropriate for me to advise the council on your options as it relates to this particular matter. So although I appreciate the deference, I think council and legal counsel, city council probably should look to each other as it relates to going beyond just the legal opinion and fact-finding investigation that was conducted. And should city council choose to do it, look to Mr. Cavendish for legal advice on how you would proceed and what the implications would be based on your different courses of action that are available to you.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. I want to recognize, I saw Ms. Young before anybody wanted to speak. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I believe the question of do we pursue would be based on, I don't think we can just answer that question without how you're gonna pursue. How you're gonna pursue has a lot to do with do we pursue? I don't think we can come to we should come to a decision of do we pursue without having an idea of what direction we go in, because a lot comes with that. And then you have, who do you go after? I heard that question. Who do you go after? That has a lot to do with what direction you go. And all of that gets us on the track of not just how much it's gonna cost for this attorney, how much are we gonna pay out? Are we gonna pay out 3 times the money that we're looking at here? We have to consider all of that. And it's a very serious, it's a very imperative, decision, which I don't think we should just make off of the cuff, really.
Thank you.
There's a lot that goes with that.
It's really not a hard decision for me. I think if we overpaid them, I think we should go for our money. It's not just our money, it's the taxpayers' money. And I think that we should go after the money. And whoever falls while going after that, that is what happened. I wasn't here when all of this took place, but I am taken aback just to see how much money went out without the council. I'm blown away.
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Mayor, I think that there's definitely two issues here. Obviously, if there's a hole big enough for $200,000 to leak out of, that's the problem that needs to be looked into as well. But as far as actually our ability to quote unquote, go after this money specifically. I do understand what you're saying, so, or I think I do. Is it that you hope to have Mr. Cavendish form a second opinion on the additional information and then form a committee to look at all opinions and decide how to proceed? Is that the?
Yes, but my question would be, for Mr. Cavendish, after hearing Mr. Martin, would you be able to go from forming opinions to then giving us counsel, legal counsel?
Giving you legal counsel on the prospects of a lawsuit, the costs and benefits of that, that's the easiest thing for a lawyer to do, because it's very common. It's a conversation we have 3 times a day with all kinds of different entities and businesses. Giving you advice on what's the best way to move forward, creating framework systems, checking policies, that is something that that lawyers who practice government law do when asked. But doing that with someone that's new to you requires more work, because they have to learn everything that's come before. Whereas if you do that with a lawyer who's been in Lake City, that is familiar with this council, if you want legal advice about constitutionally, should we do this to our code or that to our code? Should we implement something new, a new framework, a new process? It will take less time and it will cost less money if you find someone that's local. Sure. And that's just the dollars and cents.
To answer your question, yes, that was what my thoughts were.
Mr. Mayor, it seems like that, I don't know that last part was all that necessary. We already have. I said, I don't feel like that additional opinion is all that necessary, given what we already have, but I don't think it would hurt if we are gonna potentially have a legal action in the future.
I would even say that we get that opinion addition and work to secure Mr. Cavendish for his advice in how we pursue this as well. That would be my thoughts on it.
This took place in 2022, 23?
2023 was.
Is there a statute of limitation for this?
4 years.
So we're within our statute of limitations.
Halfway there.
So, do we have any further questions or discussion for Mr. Cavendish? Or would someone like to make a motion?
So, question,
Yes.
so, I have problems with pronouncing his name, Cavendish.
Cavendish.
So if Mr. Cavendish is going to, carry out, if Mr. Cavendish is going to, I guess my question is the is that necessary for him to give us another opinion as far as with the resolution? If he's gonna carry it out anymore, then why do we need another opinion of additional information?
Yeah, if he's gonna give us advice, that's a good question. You guys can't hear him, so we just need to speak up. So Councilwoman Carter's, or Councilwoman Young's question, my apologies, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilwoman Young, is if we decide to use counsel in Cavendish, do we need the amended opinion based on that resolution? And I don't think, if we're going to have him advise us on how to proceed, I don't believe so, but what are your thoughts, Mr. Cavendish?
If there is a question as to whether that November of '24 action by the last council changes any of the conclusions in the opinion,
Sure.
I would be unable to advise you on that if it makes the code violation lessen, go away, change. I would be unable to advise you on that. So I would be advising you on the potential for legal action based on the opinion I wrote, I would not be able to take that November 24 action into account.
So we would probably need to take that into account and get the advice from you.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, it seems that we kind of go in circles here.
Sure.
What we know is that for less than $4,000, he will, because what we've had done here cost $4,000. For less than that amount, but not yet specified how much, he would look into the thing that you brought up about the November meeting and give us an opinion on whether or not that's relevant to this. So I guess the question is, do we ask for a resolution to hire him to make that opinion? It seems that that's pretty straightforward. What does the council think about that?
I think yes. I think that's the correct motion. So,
Mr. Mayor, there is a motion on the floor, but it was very quiet.
she's made a motion, so Councilwoman Harris made a motion to employ Mr. Cavendish and his firm to finish the opinion
Yes.
based on that resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none. Oh, sorry. Now we'll open, yes, I did, Mr. Sampson, I apologize. So now that we have council action defined, I will open it back up for public comment, and I will go in the order that I went before Mr. Lofstrom kicking us off.
Mayor,
Yes, wait, just a moment.
before Mr. Lobster
Yes.
speaks, can we just verify the motion? So we have a motion to authorize a resolution to be prepared, authorizing Attorney Cavendish to provide an additional opinion based on the November 2024 resolution.
Can we do it without the resolution? Are we able to do it without the resolution?
You certainly can. A resolution's best practice, but it's not required.
But it would hold us up for another
It
2 weeks.
would hold you up for another 2 weeks. So you could just do it on direct motion tonight.
Could we not give it a resolution number tonight?
Well, the resolution would be a written document, so it's not having the number, it's actually the written document, much like an ordinance is. But you don't need a number necessarily, you can just do it on oral motion.
So the motion would be to authorize Attorney Cavendish to provide an additional opinion based on the November 24 resolution.
And to be clear, that's without asking for it to come back as a motion success. Yes, and my second is still.
I just want to verify that.
Motion and a second. Mr. Lofstrom.
Okay, after hearing what Mr. Cavendish had to say, looks like we have a couple deeper issues. One of them appears to be that we had an attorney that advised the mayor on what turns out to be incorrect payments. Now, on top of that, we now have a different attorney that's still essentially the same. It's not the same physical person, but it's the same team. If we found that we have issues with the team, our existing attorney cannot help the city in this matter. So perhaps it really goes a little deeper. In other words, if the city is having issues with essentially fraud payments that our existing attorney can't handle because his team or business or company is the one that was kind of at fault, perhaps we need a different attorney that's totally unassociated with this deliberate fraud. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lofstrom. Mr. Bowden.
Mr. Mayor, my concern as a citizen really is this. I was here when Mr. Sampson brought the issue up. And I remember how long it took to get to the 3-2 vote. The written opinion and the presentation by the attorney is a very damning condemnation of the past city council and of the city staff, in my view. Because when Mr. Sampson brought it up and just before he resigned, it was February of the next year before Mr. Dow got the final payment. So had the city council been on top of their game, paying some attention. That was a red flag. There was an opportunity then to say, wait, let's stop those payments until we find out just what's going on. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. It's not your fault, Mr. Mayor, not your fault, Ms. Harris, not your fault, Mr. Carter. But Mrs. Young and Mr. Jernigan was here. They was here. And didn't raise any issue. It took a year just to get through that. So, you know, we can't act like that we just so surprised. Mr. Sampson raised these issues, begged people to do something about it. It took a whole year to get to this point. And we can't act like it's just worry about how much it's gonna cost. You got some accountability. People gotta have some confidence in the government that you're doing the best thing for us. And that's what this is all about. You know, $98,000 is a lot of money. You know how much we can do with it? We can put replace that sand down the Salome Jerry Park with some real kind of mush. It's a lot you can do with $98,000. That's a waste. It's the most wasteful thing I've seen in this city government in the past 5 years. And the citizens ought to be outraged, and I think they are. And you'd be surprised what people are saying about this. They're just not up here talking about that, but they have a lot to say about it. And we have a lot to say about it in the coming years too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Mr. Ward.
Thank you for recognizing me, Mayor Walker. You weren't present during that time this took place. Mr. Carter, I think you were serving quite well over at the, wearing 3 hats, that is, over at the Board of Adjustment, Planning and Zoning, and Historical Preservation Committee. Ms. Harris, I guess you were out tending to those with mental health issues. Mr. Jernigan, as a correction officer, was in former military, he was here. Ms. Sykes, she was here, for sure. Mr. D. Johnson was here, and also Ms. Javella Young was here. Let me just be straightforward. You know what a lot of time was wasted at, Mayor, Councilman Harris and Councilman Carter? A lot of time was wasted on Sylvester Warren activists. Everybody was busy putting tables up, having the police department harass me, and back and forth with me about legitimate issues and concerns in the Black community, that they weren't even paying attention to the details of the contracts and the things that were taking place. Because I became public enemy #1, right? All because I wanted better for a community that looked like me that was perishing. Meanwhile, instead of fighting with me, right? Instead of listening to my concerns and dealing with the low-hanging fruit, these council members were not studious in reading their agenda, communicating with their attorney, which this attorney we have now found out is an extension of Todd Kennon, who I've asked several times, he should not be here. He should not be giving y'all any counsel because it's in the same vein as Todd. When we hide them as one. And another thing about this council, you have to show the citizens that you're serious. And the first thing you do when you show people you're serious, you start moving furniture around. If you know what that means, you start fining people for their wrong behavior. And that sets a precedence to the citizens that you all will not tolerate an attorney or anybody else screwing over the American people and the citizens of Lake City. Let me go a step further, if you would. There's plenty. And I'm surprised you in Rotary. I think you've kissed your way to Rotary, and there's some other people that go to these different programs and things. I'm surprised that you let this attorney stand up here, let this attorney tell you that he can't be involved, and none of y'all can't think of any other city attorneys, right? I'm a little boy from the hood. You got Tommy Reeves, who is considered in Florida, right out of Madison, the professor of municipality law. And then you got Adam Morrison, right in Live Vote, just got named the City Council of Suwannee County. And y'all don't know this. Why? What do y'all do all day? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Mr. Sampson.
Mr. Mayor, you brought up a resolution from the November 4th meeting of 2024, which was the last meeting that was chaired by the previous mayor. And that resolution, I believe, was a consent agenda item, which the public had no idea what was going on because, again, it was hidden from view and non-transparent. We want transparency and we want action. First of all, that the finance and the city management at the time, which I guess was Mr. Rosenthal, allowed this to come in and hit it in the way it did is ridiculous. There's no excuses anymore. The cleaning house needs to be an enema. It needs to go deep. And I'm asking Mr. Rosenthal and the mayor to give some opinions here because there's people, you can't tolerate this from a finance department. You can't tolerate this from the acting city manager at the time. You can't tolerate this from the previous mayor or from the attorney. I know they're not together, but you know, they were married when they were hired. They should have been married when they went out the door. And you know, I don't normally agree very often with Mr. Warren. I think that's pretty well known, but in this case, this enema needs to start now. I think there needs to be a motion to terminate your attorney, and it needs to be immediately. The conflict that's here is amazing. And you're asking him questions during this? You don't need to ask him questions about this item. There's a conflict right on the first page of the document. Why are we asking him questions about an item he has a conflict on? Stop that. If you had some backbone and spine, we would see a new city attorney application out here next week. And I hate to get passionate about it, but we fought like hell to try and uncover this. It was hidden, it's a non-transparent, and now we see the same non-transparent things going forward. And as a citizen, I guess we're gonna have to pay more attention, be at more meetings, and be more activist. So I guess that's the direction we're gonna go because I'm not seeing the change we need. And, you know, as voters, I guess we got a right to change that coming up. But as y'all have that right, y'all work for us. We're the people. I've been in y'all's seat as an employee of the people. And now I'm no longer an employee of the people. Now I am the people. And a taxpayer citizen, as I've heard when I sat in your shoes from people, we have some rights. And we are asking you to take accountability, transparency, and responsibility to the top. And there needs to be changes, and it needs to be immediate. And y'all need to direct Mr. Rosenthal to get this house in order. I can tell you right now, you've got people authorizing payments that are clearly not not at all allowed in the handbook that's well published. That's the first thing you get when you're employed. I know you got one when you were employed. When you first met with Aubrey Sykes, you got the handbook and it told you what you could get out of it. Now, how are we allowing people to write checks for that when it never went to this body? And to say that we put it on a consent agenda November 4th and that changes the way, no, y'all need to cut out some of this consent agenda stuff and hiding stuff from the people. Had that been on a dang item and had it been disclosed properly, I'd have been at that meeting too. And I mean, if I need to come to every meeting, I can do it. I ain't got nothing else to do. But we need transparency and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. Mr. Littlejohn.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. At least now we know what the motion is. Earlier in the discussion, Your Honor, you mentioned you want to form a committee. I'm not sure what that committee was. You just heard former Councilman Mr. Sampson said you need transparency. I don't know, you mentioned 3 people. I would have to go back and listen to the audio. How is that transparent? This board decides things. You're elected to represent the people and take care of their money. So I would suggest anybody look at Florida Crown, which is still exploding. You were there. And a lot of the reasons that Florida Crown went down the tubes was because of the lack of transparency when you were chairman of the board. There's Florida law regarding executive sessions or shade meetings about litigation. It reminds me of the old joke. What we're hearing, that somebody looks at their attorney's bill and they say, what's this bill? It's 6 o'clock in the morning. And the attorney says, well, I got up early and I guess I was dreaming about my client, so I'm charging you for that 15 minutes that I must have been dreaming about you. The only way that you can talk about this item, and you may want to check with Mr. Cavendish, is if you've been sued. That's what shade meetings are for. The litigation in the shade meetings is that you got a case in court. Other than that, you can't meet in secret to discuss these things. And if you think you can, I sure would like to know why, because I've been watching this a long time. You wanted to call a shade meeting to discuss Mr. Cavendish's report. You did. Noah Walker. Same kind of problems that happened at Florida Crown. And that, I can read emails, Your Honor.
Yeah.
And you didn't have that. So instead you played post office. And Mr. Cavendish, as nice as he was, drove to Lake City and met with all you guys, and I didn't see any bill for that. It's a pretty good deal, because I got some stuff I need too. But you never told, before today, you never told the citizens that you were meeting with Mr. Cavendish separately. You could have all met with him at a workshop. And everybody would have known what your questions are. You could have been transparent. I believe Mr. Jernigan mentioned something about transparent. And my final thing is, I don't understand. The finance director authorized these checks. She got various raises from Mr. Dial. She wasn't authorized to write those checks because the council never approved it. Is she bonded? Because if she made a mistake, then it would seem to me that the city has a way to recoup some of this money. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Littleker. Okay. We've had public comment. I'll close public comment if we have nobody else who wants to speak on this new proposition. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. Ms. Sykes, will you restate that motion and then call the roll?
Motion to authorize Attorney Cavendish to provide an additional opinion based on the November 2024 resolution, which was City Council Resolution number 2024-131. Okay.
Would you please call the roll?
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
No.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. Okay.
I have a question about that, Mayor.
Sure.
I was wondering, because I'm interested in knowing all the details of what actually happened.
Mhm.
I read his opinion, but I kinda wanna know everything in details.
Mr. Cavendish, please. I think that there's probably another action that we can't take yet so far.
Through the mayor, council member, it's a very common question. One of the challenges,
Well, let me just ask this question. So, what the mayor and, Mr. Dow and the mayor, Mr. Dow and the attorney, Clay, did, was that criminal or was that just?
It was Mr. Kenneth.
That's the one. Okay, Mr. Kennan, I'm sorry. What their actions was it considered as criminal? Or is it just, what would you say it would be? Because, like I said, I wasn't here, but I just kind of want to know everything, who all was involved, and I'm with Mr. Todd. I think some things need to happen, because we want our constituents to trust us.
if I may, and I can answer these pretty concisely, a couple of different questions in there. One is my review that led to the legal opinion, the witnesses I talked to, the documents I looked at, did not arrive at any conclusion that a crime had been committed. My conclusion was that an overpayment had happened, like what happens if an insurance company sends you a settlement and they include too much money, more than they intended to, or if a bank's ATM breaks. There are many, many different ways in the world, in business and otherwise, where overpayments happen. And an overpayment is a civil law concept. So that's what I found. Now, let me also say, I'm not at all qualified by experience or training to draw conclusions about what is or was not criminal. I've never been a prosecutor. So that is an important proviso that I have to add. Now, the second part of your question was you wanting to know everything down in the weeds in granular detail. One of the challenges we face in local government is that documenting things in granular detail, it's like being an archaeologist. It's like someone saying there's a mound there, it could be interesting, I want to find out what's inside. Well, an archaeologist, if they investigate professionally so that you can trust the results, they're going to be very exacting. It's going to take a lot of time. They're going to have a lot of person power out there running the lines and digging very carefully and photographing and all that. It's expensive, is what I'm saying. And the difference between writing a legal opinion, as I did, and doing what you would call a full-blown internal investigation is person power, labor hours. It's a much larger commitment to do it to a professional degree. It's very expensive to document something like that to the degree that you're curious about.
I'm gonna ask, that we take a 5-minute break, and then come back. Okay, does anybody have any other questions for Mr. Cavendish before we come back with another action? We're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Before you say you were at lunch. That was all he said.
So he did take off.
He said you were at lunch, that's why you had to call me back.
Folks, we'll go ahead and call this back to order, if you guys can calm down. Let's settle down. Hey, this meeting's back in session. We could maintain order.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Before we move on to the next, topic, I know I voted not to have, the attorney look into this, any further. However, is there any way, that we can get the state attorney here in Lake City to look into this instead of hiring an outside attorney? But and there's a couple of reasons why I say that. Even this attorney suggested that we get somebody from around here that pretty much knows a little bit about this topic. And I would like to have the state attorney look into this matter. And the good thing about it is, it will not cost the citizens anything. We pay the state attorney, and I know you know this already. Moving forward, is there any way I could make a motion to see if the state attorney can look into this instead of the attorney that suggested that maybe we should do that?
Before you do, I would point out the state attorney deals with criminal matters. And Mr. Cavendish would be representing us in a civil matter, the recouping of funds through civil court, right? Through the process of either mitigation or suing, whereas the state attorney could independently look into any potential criminality involved independently. He wouldn't be able to represent us like Mr. Cavendish would represent us in recouping that money. Does that make sense?
No, sir. I beg the difference. I think that he will be able to do that and recoup that money. And the only way we're gonna find out is to inquire from him.
So I've sent the original opinion to the state attorney, just out of courtesy, to have him look over. I haven't gotten anything back yet. But we all had that when we all received that, the opinion. I had the same question that Ms. Harris did, whenever I met Mr. Cavendish. And I asked him, is there a criminal matter involved in this? And he said, out of courtesy, you should send it to your state attorney, so that's what I did.
Right. And also, I don't know where Mr. Dowell is, but did anybody talk to him and say, hey, we overpaid you $91,000, whatever the case may be, and see if he will give it back?
So I think that's definitely, I think that's definitely an option that we have. But where I think that we are currently is we've chosen to get the expansion of the opinion based on the resolution at the end of 2024. What I would like to see us do is now go a step further with the resolution to retain counsel for advice on how we proceed based on that matter. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Civil, yeah, but the state attorney does have the original opinion, which includes all the facts that Mr. Cavendish put.
If I can, if the state attorney can do a free investigation to see if anything has been criminally done.
We're talking to tonight.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Please, Mr. Cavendish, please come back.
So if the state attorney would do a free investigation to see if anything was criminally done, we can't suggest that happen? Or get that to happen?
Yeah, so that's why I sent it to him.
So you already did it,
I
and his response was?
independently as a member of this council, after Mr. Cavendish and I spoke, I sent it to the state attorney out of courtesy to see if he thought or had any thoughts on it in a criminal matter.
His response was?
He hasn't responded yet. We haven't had an opportunity to speak about it.
Okay, so.
Because I was just, to be fair to Mr. Durrett, yeah, there are crimes committed every day. Our police department's busy, the sheriff's department's busy. Folks who are traveling through here carry criminal matters a lot of the time, so they're dealing with caseload that's loaded and loaded and loaded from months back and.
Okay, $92,000 and above, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
So if there's anything that has been done criminally, I wanna know. And I want us to go after whoever.
So Mr. Durrett does have that, his office has the original opinion, and I would send him any amendment as well.
Is that something we need to make a motion on?
I don't think so. I mean,
Mr. Mayor, if I may, through the mayor.
Go for it.
Councilmember, I don't think you need to make a motion on it because in every judicial circuit in Florida, we have a state attorney presiding over that. And it is very common for other local officials to bring them situations and just say, would you take a look at this? It is then completely up to their discretion as the installed chief law enforcement officer for the judicial circuit as to whether it interests them and as to whether it's something that they think has some kind of potential for an investigation. They're completely independent, and just by sending my legal opinion to the local circuit state attorney, the mayor has fulfilled the civic side of that equation, and it will now be completely up to the state attorney's discretion in terms of contacting the city if they wish to get some follow-up.
Also, I wouldn't think that we would need a motion on that just because it's public. The opinion is now publicly available. Anybody can obtain the opinion, read through it, and get to know what
So
it says.
whatever decision he make as far as this is concerned, I would like to have it in writing. I just didn't, you telling us, I would love to have him write out what he think, if somebody has criminally done something or not. I would like for him to write that out.
It has been my experience that in other municipalities and counties in Florida, it is not unusual for elected officials like yourselves to ask to have a meeting with the person in the state attorney's role, if for nothing else, to ask questions so that you can fully understand what their process is. They are very used to requests like that in every part of the state.
Thank you, Mr. Cavendish. Any other questions for Mr. Cavendish before he goes back?
No, I would have never asked that question had I known that, that your opinion had been sent over to the state attorney's office. I never would have asked that question. Of course, I didn't know, and I don't know how many citizens here know about that or how many other councils know about that, but I didn't know, so that's why I asked that question.
This is the first time that you and I could legally talk about it prior to this time. We just got the opinion before this meeting. And so that's why I sent it between our last meeting and this meeting, and this is the first time that you and I can talk about anything that's related to Sunshine. So now you're finding out.
I think that was my first question I asked, was anything criminally done? That would have been a perfect time there for you to tell us that you had sent it over.
Sure, but we're also considering a lot of different things. And I also have to think like my co-counsel people on how to proceed in these matters in terms of what motions are being made and how best to talk to you guys and moving in the way that I think we should best move forward too, right? So, yeah, okay. So it's been sent to John. I would think that having a resolution. So we've already voted in favor of the secondary opinion as a council in moving forward. I would think that a motion for resolution to retain Mr. Cavendish as counsel for advice on how to proceed based on that secondary opinion would be prudent at this point. If anyone would like to discuss that or make that motion.
Before we go there, I would like for Mr. Rosenthal, if you can, reach out to Mr. John direct and get some answers on what we need to know as far as the criminal part of it.
Will do.
Thank you.
So I'll make the motion then. I know that it's not typical for the mayor to make a motion, but it certainly is not out of code or ordinance. Clay, if you could speak to that.
Mr. Mayor, if you do indeed wish to make a motion, it would be proper for you to pass the gavel to your vice mayor to manage the meeting during the pendency of that motion.
If nobody else is going to make the motion, then.
Mr. Mayor, you're suggesting we make a motion now, we take an action now to retain him for his advice after he gives us his opinion on the next thing?
For a resolution to do that. So the resolution will come back to us in the next meeting, and we will be voting in affirmation of that resolution at the next meeting. So when he gives us his secondary opinion, why would we wait another meeting cycle to execute? That's why I'm suggesting.
We won't get.
I feel like that implies that we'll get that opinion within the next 2 weeks, which I haven't heard that.
Yeah, that was a assumption on my part.
Yeah.
Mr. Cavendish, what would the timing be on the secondary opinion based on the very limited piece?
Candidly, that is an unknown. It may take longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Then never mind, I will not be passing the gavel or making the motion. Thank you. Anybody else have anything for Mr. Cavendish? All right, thank you, Mr. Cavendish. Thank you. All right, now we're moving on to new business. It's item number 7. And Mr. Martin, will you read that item by title?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. You have before you resolution number 2025-017, a resolution of the City of Lake City, Florida, approving that certain form of hangar lease agreement for use by the city manager for leasing corporate hangars and T-hangars at Lake City Gateway Airport. Making certain findings of fact in support of the city approving said form of hangar lease agreement, authorizing non-substantive changes to said form of hangar lease agreement with the concurrence of the city attorney, directing the city manager to utilize said form of hangar lease agreement in all such cases where it's applicable, authorizing the city manager or the city manager's designee to execute such hangar lease agreement on behalf of the city, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict and providing an effective date. Should the council wish to adopt this resolution, an appropriate motion would be to adopt resolution 2025-017 as read by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Any discussion by the council? I'll open this up for public comment. Mr. Warren, you're the only one that wants to speak to it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the record, for those who don't know, and there was concern about the state attorney thing, his cell number is 965-1351. If anybody wants to contact me, you can always feel free to reach out to your state attorney. Also, I want to know from you, Mr. Mayor, and the other council members, are we going to proceed with legal counsel that was he's mentioned, the city manager is mentioned, the city attorney is mentioned in this ordinance. Is he not, sir? Is the city, he read it by title, and he's mentioning it, is he not, sir?
Sir, the item is, we're talking about airport hangar leases. So please speak.
I am speaking to it. You can't tell me how I'm speaking. I am speaking to it. I'm speaking to a guy that is in the writing. Is he not in the writing? Is he not in the ordinance? Is his name city manager not, city attorney not in there?
It is. City attorney is in there.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Stop being arrogant, start listening. So my point is this. You got a guy that we have no confidence in reading us ordinances and giving our city manager advice. When are we gonna stop this? And I think that's what everybody's trying to find out. You just now allow him, and you're gonna continue to allow him to read these by title. And he's already advised the city manager on a agreement about the hangar? How we know this ain't another Paul Dial agreement?
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Council have any questions? Mr. Rosenthal, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, this is the ability, you're giving the city manager the ability to sign leases and instead of the mayor. This allows the city and the airport to respond quickly when a lease is up. And that's all it is.
Sure, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Council Resolution 2025-017.
We have a motion
I second it.
and a second. Do we have any further discussion by the council? Hearing none, Ms. Sykes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. Now we're on to number 8. Mr. Martin, will you please read that by title?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. You have before you resolution number 2025-018, a resolution of the city of Lake City, Florida, approving that certain agreement between the city and PFM Financial Advisors LLC, a foreign limited liability company for bond financial advisory services, making certain findings of fact in support of the city approving said agreement, recognizing the authority of the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, directing the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. Should the council wish to adopt this resolution, an appropriate motion would be to adopt resolution number 2025-018 as read by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Warren, you're signed up for this one?
I'm gonna sign for every one of them.
I see that.
Yeah. Just for the fun, I ain't got nothing to do, plenty of money, plenty of time.
Perfect.
Yeah. So, again, I love for these citizens to be, I love it when it's a packed house, right? Because the cameras are watching, right? Most of my family members were preachers, and so I get a chance to put on my oral skills and, you know, be that guy that's a part of the church and the Episcopal and all that good stuff, and, you know, take care on that, that swag. So as it relates to the item resolution number, I'm just still curious, and I'm quite sure that people in the room are still curious, why are we still taking advice from
Thank you for the
council?
belabored point, Mr. Warren.
Council
Speak
on-
to the agreement with PFM Financial. This is the last warning, sir.
What you mean last one? You interrupted me.
I am interrupting you because you're off point.
I am not off, I'm not off point.
Sir,
I am.
this is your last warning.
I'm reading what this thing says. I'm getting ready to read board advisory. You're cutting me off. You're being rude and you're being a butthole for no reason. Board advisory services making certain findings, in fact, in support of city approving an agreement. Who did that? Who's writing and helping the city put together these agreements?
It's your public comment time, sir.
Bro, it's my time. I mean,
as long as it's on
hey,
point.
listen, you ain't gotta talk to me, boy. I ain't gotta talk to you. Just let the time run. I do this all the time. I'll be back up here on item 9, and we'll be at it again.
It's off topic, you're out.
If that's off on top, you
That's
know
your
what?
last- that's your last warning.
It don't matter about the last warning, because I got lawyers that are dying to sue y'all. Y'all easy prey.
Perfect.
Y'all are easy prey. Ask Clay. He done spoke to my attorney.
That's off topic. We'll see you. Have a good night. Please escort Mr. Warren out of the room.
Chief?
Mr. Warren, you've been ordered to leave the chamber. If you don't leave, you'll be arrested. This is your final warning.
Oh, this is my final warning. You would love to put cuffs on me. State attorney ain't gonna prosecute. You know that.
Mr. Bowden.
Make sure you leave the building. Body camera on.
Mr. Mayor, I'm reading it, I got just one question concerning this item. It's not a question, I called the clerk's office. I was reading the part that says, summary explanation and background. It says here that the committee members agree with the found ranking and move forward with the top firm. And the top firm was PF&M. But I don't see any backup in the file, I didn't see who the other firms were. Was there more than one firm?
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, please.
Yeah, that was about, I think there was about, is procurement in here? No? I think there's about 4 or 5 firms, but we can get you that information, we have it.
Yeah, you know, as a firm, I'm used to that being in there, so at least the assistant being able to look and say, okay, this was the top firm, this was the next firm, this firm from Mississippi, this firm from Pennsylvania. I think that's information.
You're absolutely right, we can get you that.
That's all I want. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. All right, we've got public comment. We've had this read by title. Do we have any council comments?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve City Council Resolution 2025-018.
Mr. Carter, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Sykes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Harris? Ms. Harris? Mayor Walker?
Yes. All right. Now we're moving on to item number 9. Mr. Martin, will you please read that by title?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. You have before you resolution number 2025-026. A resolution of the City of Lake City, Florida, urging the legislature of the state of Florida to enact legislation to provide a public records exemption for municipal clerks, employees performing municipal elections work, and/or employees having any part in code enforcement functions of the city, making findings of fact in support thereof, repealing resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. Should the council wish to adopt this resolution, an appropriate motion would be to adopt resolution number 2025-026 as read by title only.
We don't have anybody signed up to speak to this, so council, do you have any questions, comments?
I have a comment. You know, when we sign up for these positions, they're public records, and we know they're public records. And I just feel like this is just picking out a group. You know, all of our lives matter, all of our identity matter. So I just don't see why is it being entertained? One particular group is set aside, everybody else who works in really the same capacity, that their identity be private.
It's a fair question. As the person that sponsored this, I'll answer that question from my perspective. Our city clerk is the holder of our elections, of the qualifying officer, and around the state, the supervisor of elections are exempt from these public records for election safety. This is a resolution to support the Municipal Clerks Association in seeking this same protection as the supervisor of elections, right? Because they are the qualifying, and it's not for specifically Ms. Sykes currently. I made this for any future clerk that we would hire as well. Ms. Sykes is exempt from these public records already. So it's for the position, and as we hire somebody, to give them the same protection and security around elections that supervisor of elections have around the state as our qualifying officer in the city.
And you stated Ms. Sykes has her own,
Yes.
but we want to protect the future clerks. That makes no sense. Make it make sense.
At some point, Ms. Sykes will not be the clerk, whether through attrition or unfortunate health circumstances. I would imagine there's nothing currently at play, but you know, Ms. Sykes won't last forever. And so this is for, unfortunately, she won't last forever, but this is for any of her people that come after her.
And they can't have their own.
They can't have their own what?
You said Ms. Sykes has her own. She's covered.
Yeah, she's covered because she was.
So we're protecting, we're placing this protection for those who come after her.
Yeah, and every other clerk around the state, yes. Yeah, and it's important, again, for election safety. But yes, sir, Mr. Carter.
Just to clarify, Mr. Mayor, if I can, the municipal clerk is effectively our supervisor of elections. The rest of the supervisor of elections in the state already have this protection. The suggestion here is this resolution is tantamount to signing a petition in agreement with the rest of the ones in the state so that they can get their position, which is effectively supervisory elections, protected the same way like a county supervisor elections already is.
That's correct.
Has nothing to do with our clerk in particular, and I believe our clerk, Ms. Sykes, she's working at the police department, her stuff is already, it's got nothing to do with Ms. Sykes. This is just, like I said, tantamount to signing a petition.
It's the clerk, yes.
And I hope you didn't clarify that for me because I had the same information, so I know that and I still stand on what I said.
Perfect. Anybody else have any? Yes, sir.
Yes, and I got something to say on this as well. We only have one supervisor of elections here, and our office, which is the city clerk, is not the supervisor of election. I don't know where we get off on that is because now she is a worker for the supervisor of election, but she's not the attached. And the reason why I say that, I went to, when I ran for office, or whatever the case may be, you have to go there for everything. And then Melinda will tell you to do this, tell you to do that, but you have to go over there for everything, even short-term and long-term. We get all of our information from the supervisor of election office, so I'm not understanding that as well, because we all know that, well, at least I know that our clerk is protected, but if somebody comes after her, it seemed like to me that person would be protected as well, without having a resolution, in my opinion.
Not necessarily, Mr. Jernigan, just again, our clerk in our city, based on our charter and the way that our city government is, they are our qualifying officer, so they are the election supervisor for city elections. The supervisor of elections is contracted by the city to essentially take the votes and return the results. They're not our qualifying officer. Our qualifying officer in city elections is our clerk. And that's the way it is in a lot of municipalities around the state as well. So the reason why I sponsored this is I believe they deserve the same protections as a supervisor of elections because they're the qualifying officer, AKA the supervisor of elections within their municipality. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but again, it's not a balance. We only have one supervisor of election office here.
That's correct. The supervisor of elections of the county does not qualify, or they are contracted to collect votes and return results. They are not the qualifying officer or the holder of our elections within the city. They are contracted for that. The city has a contract with them to do that. If we so chose to do our own elections, it would cost us a lot more than our contract with the supervisor of elections, but we could choose to do that because we're a different governmental entity than the county.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move to approve City Council Resolution 2025-026.
We have a motion.
I second it.
We have a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Sykes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
No.
Mr. Jernigan?
No.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. All right, now we're moving on to item number 12. Or number 10, sorry. It's just, I can't read that. I'm trying to skip a couple guys. Item number 10. Mr. Martin, will you please read that by title?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council members, you have before you resolution number 2025-027, a resolution of the City of Lake City, Florida, accepting the proposal for engineering services and authorizing task order number 13 pursuant to the contract with Midtower and Associates Incorporated, a Florida corporation, to evaluate the city-owned site of 454 acres, commonly known as the Branford Crossing site, to determine the feasibility of converting said site into a restricted public access land application effluent disposal site, approving that certain proposal and task order between the city of Lake City and said vendor in the amount of $90,600, making certain findings of fact in support of the city approving said proposal and task order, recognizing the authority of the mayor to execute and bind the city to said proposal and task order, directing the mayor to execute and bind the city to said proposal and task order, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict and providing an effective date. Should the council wish to adopt resolution 2025-027, an appropriate motion would be to adopt said resolution as read by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. We do have some public comment on this. Mr. Williams, I believe this is the one that you signed up for.
It is. Yes, thank you. My name is Tim Williams. I gave you my information earlier. I'll be as brief as I can. We have an interest in that site. We've been working with your city manager and his staff since August of 2024. Submitted a letter of intent and several iterations of refined proposals. Our interest in the site is not a conflict for the lagoon. In fact, we've proposed a no cost to the city swap of a similarly sized parcel, only it's in the path, our parcel is in the path of progress. It's recently been changed, the use has been changed to industrial, and it's north of town, adjacent to the landfill, the county landfill. So part of my job for the last 20-some years has been to imagine, what opportunities cities like yours have and where best should things go. Ellisville is a great example, right? Ellisville the county is building its own water and sewer plant there instead of the city because you guys didn't have a vision at the time that aligned with the potential for that site. So that's the role that I've played in many times and many occasions. I want to ask, I want to first say, in the city of Homestead, where I was responsible for the application and development of, in partnership with some of the best development firms and companies in the world, over 8,000 residential units, 450 acres of commercial use, including a brand new hospital, a movie theater, and a commercial facility that ended up serving as the city hall briefly even. So in that process, I learned a lot about water and sewer. The city of Homestead was under capacity and could not provide our developments what we needed. I worked with Mike Shahada, his information is in that proposal. And they built a state-of-the-art water and sewer treatment facility that met the requirements for direct discharge to groundwater. That facility hasn't been expanded since 2020, and yet the city of Homestead has grown by 75%. And it still handles that work that was done at that time. So I would ask that you postpone your decision on the Midtower report, because we reviewed a Midtower report recently, converted it into digitized format so that you guys can better share it and have use of it. And they looked at that property years ago and didn't expect that it should be used for 25 years. That information is also in the report I handed you. So yeah, when there were some comments made earlier, by the way, your staff did a great job. I love the PowerPoint. You have to continue to treat, wastewater. If you can't meet the criteria, it's 3 milliliters per gallon, and you guys don't meet that, I don't believe now. I want to have a workshop and ask you to.
I do have to be consistent. I apologize. We're on item number 10. Do any council or staff have any comments or questions?
I do.
Yes, sir.
This resolution here, and we're talking about a proposal. I think that the what's that guy name back there, Mr. Brown? Can you come up here and tell me a little bit about this right here, sir, if you don't mind? And so the city's got 454 acres?
Correct.
and it's known as Branford Crossing site or something like that, right?
Correct.
Is that the same area they're talking about, the lagoon and trying to put some homes out there? Why is everybody so interested in this particular site? And what do you think that we should do at, moving forward in this particular area?
So two things. The first part is, why are they interested? Because they can make a lot of money. That's why they're interested. But secondly, one point that he made is us keeping up with capacity. That's what we're doing. That's what our attempt is to keep up with capacity. He mentioned that there's new ways to do this. Well, there is, but there's also cost associated with everything.
Right.
The city currently owns this property. That's the big difference. But there is a reason why everybody's interested in it, that's for sure. It's 4 miles from our existing location, so it is the shortest path. He did propose offering a land swap, which is the land up by Winfield. We will have no use for that property currently. So as far as today and the needs of the city and the 6 million gallons that we need to process in order to max our plants out, this would be the easiest and low-hanging fruit, if you will.
Yes, sir. So why would we put it in a resolution to you know, for somebody else to pursue it? And we need it.
Correct, that is a true statement. The purpose of the resolution is for us to start the engineering purposes so that we can bring the report back to you. So we're actually starting the process of moving forward using the property.
Ourselves?
Correct.
Okay, see, as long as the citizens know that, see, again, I didn't know that. It almost looked like, we're setting ourselves up to give this property to somebody else. Because again, the lagoon's out there, there's another land swap, I read somewhere, had a meeting, you know, different things like that. So I'm just trying to understand what's the best recourse, for both parties.
So staff's recommendation at this point would be to utilize the property that we currently own for the process of our wastewater facility. That's what our recommendation is.
Okay, thank you very much.
How far out would we be, because I know that Mr. Pridgeon spoke to another phase between using this property and now, right? There's a build out of a different wetland?
Yeah.
What's the timeline?
I'm sorry, Mayor, could you repeat the question?
What's the timeline to the use of this property? Because I know we have another phase of wetland building between now and then, correct?
That's right, yeah. So all that'll be determined in the engineer's report. They'll determine the best method of disposal, how much it's gonna cost to get it there, and a timeline on it. The Brentford site is a one and done deal. We've got enough acreage out there that we can get the 6 MGD disposal capacity to match our treatment capacity. And, you know, we need it as soon as we can get it at the rate Lake City's growing. The current wetland, the existing wetland, I believe it took about 1.5 years to construct. So, you add engineering and all that, 2 years, 2.5 years.
What would 6 million gallons do for our capacity? So we're currently at 2.4, is that right?
That's right.
So getting up to 6 million would allow us as a community to grow to approximately what size?
It would put us good for years and years and years. And I envision doing it in phases, not doing the whole thing to start with, but we've got the property out there to go. So go get 1.5 million, you know, to do the construction on the acreage that it would take to get 1.5 million disposal. And then we needed the other 1.5 million to do that. It's getting the water there that's gonna be the hurdle for anywhere we go.
It's piping it or
piping it, yes.
Is there newer technology than what they're proposing here?
There is, and like Mr. Williams, I believe, said they've got the new state-of-the-art facility, and you can see in the Kicklighter advanced waste treatment study that Midtower also done. They've got the estimated cost for all of that in there, and you're looking at about 20 or 25 million to upgrade the kick glider facility to meet the nutrient requirements.
Would there be any harm? So Mr. Williams requested that we delay approving this engineering study. Would there be any harm to that? For whatever. Why did you want us to delay it, Mr. Williams? It's just a question.
Had I not run out of time, I would have said that we will provide, our engineers, we'll have them review your system, we'll have them provide alternative proposals, and we'll make a presentation on the full impact of what we're proposing in a workshop format within the next 60 days.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. Yes, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm finished with my questions.
You finished?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay. What we find here is the city have a very valuable piece of land.
That's right.
Everybody wanna bite out of it. And it's not for sale, it's not for rent, it's not for free. The city needs it, we don't need to prolong no time.
Questions I had, thank you.
Thank
Yes, Mr. Jernigan.
No, sir, I think she answered my question too.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
My only question, listen, obviously, me nor anybody else up here is a wastewater expert. I'm only wondering, this is the first I've heard about the land swap, but this just showed up here. It's a packet. I have not had any chance to read it at all. About a proposal for a land swap, and I don't know if the land swap makes sense. It sounds like Mr. Brown said this land's far away. It's probably not very much use. Just I don't know. But again, I wouldn't be opposed to the idea of tabling this and letting us learn a little bit between now and the next meeting. But also, obviously, there's just going to be some sort of cost-benefit analysis here. I wouldn't necessarily be interested in using his engineers. Obviously, he would have a vested interest in this being successful, but I would like to look into if there is a more efficient way that we can do this process, and we can provide, because here's the thing, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they want to use this for housing. We need housing desperately in our area. So if there is a way, and we could afford it to do a thing a different way or a better way, I think it's at least worth looking into.
We've already had Midtower do that study. I think it was last year, and I can provide that to you if you want it. And it's got all the different options and the estimated cost of it in there.
And obviously, you may not be prepared with this answer now, but what is the cost of? Oh, I guess we won't know the cost of preparing this. That's what this engineering will determine. Right. Okay. Well, it seems to me that we wouldn't be able to make the decision without the engineering.
Sure.
Either way.
Ms. Young, you had a question, then Mr. Jernigan, then Mr. Rosenthal.
My question is, not so much a question, when someone has something, I have an item, someone else has an item and they wanna trade, that means I think you have a better item than I have. Now, there's something wrong with that property that he has. Somebody tell me what it is. I know somebody knows. What's the difference in our property and his property? Y'all tell me.
It's wet.
Wet, I figured that. And I think we need to just, don't prolong the man, don't give him no, it's a no.
My only thought is we're going to turn this property wet though, right? We're gonna make it into a wet.
You're exactly right, but the property has to accept the water. It can't run off the site.
Thank you.
So the drier it is, the more you can put on it.
Mr. Jernigan, you have
Yes, I do have a question as well. I guess the land swap, that could be a very, very good deal, ways to come, making money for the city. It could be. However, I don't want to postpone anything when it comes to this resolution. I like to follow through with this resolution, Mayor, and it may take 30 days, it may take 60 days, and if he wants to do another, have his engineers go out there and take a look at it, I don't have we shouldn't have a problem with that. We're getting double a person going out there checking out the land itself. So I definitely don't want to postpone everything. It seems like we've been postponing. It's been out there for what, 9 years now? Yes, okay, so no, let's just move on with this resolution and we'll take it from there.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. Mr. Rosenthal.
So staff would recommend that we have a vote on it. We would like to keep the property. We've looked into the land swap and we're not convinced that the value is the same. So staff recommends keeping the property and using it for the purpose originally envisioned.
That's my motion.
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that the city keep the
Wait, hold on.
This is a resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Oh, I'm
Make a
sorry.
motion to- yeah.
Okay,
There's
thank you.
there's a resolution here too,
Thank
and the
you.
resolution is not whether or not to keep the property, it's whether or not to spend, to move forward with the Branford Crossing
Right.
site study with Mid Tower at the tune of $90,600.
Mr. Mayor, with that being said, I'd like to approve City Council Resolution number 2025-027.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
I only to say this, what I was talking about a moment ago as far as comparison, it seems like we need to approve this because we don't know what this is we don't know what our future desire is gonna cost, so there's nothing to compare to, even if we ended up doing something different. This seems like it has to happen.
Okay. All right, Ms. Sykes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. All right, moving on to number 11, City Council Resolution number 2025-28. Mr. Martin, will you read that by title?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. You have before you resolution number 2025-028, a resolution of the City of Lake City, Florida, approving that certain agreement between the city and Columbia County, Florida, to operate the wastewater treatment plant located within the North Florida Mega Industrial Park and owned by Columbia County, Florida. Making certain findings of fact in support of the city approving said agreement, recognizing the authority of the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, directing the mayor to execute and bind the city to said agreement, repealing all prior resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. Should the council wish to adopt this resolution, an appropriate motion would be to adopt resolution number 2025-028 as read by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Mr. Bowden, I have you for public comment.
I don't think I need to, I'm assuming that you're gonna do it. Let me, Just can't take anything for us, can't assume anything today. Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to offer my support for this resolution. It's the industrial park's been in the making for years, as you well know. And now they starting to turn around and all of that. So I want to commend the city manager and the staff for working with the county to make this happen, because at the end of the day, you know, if you can't take care of water and the disposal of sewer, then it's just gonna be a piece of land out there. The company's not gonna come if they can't fulfill those kind of needs. So I think that's a win-win for all the citizens. I appreciate the fact that the county now realize that those of us who live in the city of actually county residents also. And so it's a win-win, and I just want to offer my support for this. It's a good idea.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. I don't have anybody else signed up for it, so we'll close public comment, go into council discussion. Would anybody like to?
I think it's excellent, Mr. Mayor.
I do too. Anybody like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve City Council Resolution 2025-028.
Excellent. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Sykes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Young? Yes. Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. All right, now we're up for other discussions, or other items, and item number 12, discussion of possible action with the Lake City Women's Club located at 257 Southeast Hernando Avenue. City Council, or City Manager Don Rosenthal brought this, so if you'd like to open it up, and then we'll have public comment.
I think Councilmember Carter might have something to say on this that adds new light to the matter overall.
Oh, okay, so,
Well, do we want, so is this council, is this presentation of what it is, or?
well, it's relevant.
Okay.
Just that, local real estate fellow Daniel Craps reached out to the city and said, hey, can you postpone making a decision on whether or not to pay the engineering or demolish or any of those sort of things for 60 days. He believes that he may be able to get together some sort of proposal that would lead to the saving of the building. So he's asked that we postpone making a decision on this for, I think, 60 days.
I think it's 90 days.
90 days, I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Now, we do have some public comment on this. on this item, so I will open public comment up now to Ms. Tina Roberts. Is she still here? Ms. Tina, would you like to say?
Yes, I'm still here. Tina Roberts, my address is 468 Northwest Hackney Terrace in Lake City. Just so everyone knows, we know that, Ms. Young, you are the councilwoman for the clubhouse. And we'd like to know how you feel about it, but we'd also like to know, is there still a historical committee? What have they had to say, if anything, or have they met about the building? I know that you know that in 1915 is when it was built, but in 1946, the city had a 99-year agreement with the Women's Club to lease for 99 years for $1 a year. But then in 2003, the city and the Garden Club and the Women's Club signed a contract, and we have that. If you'd like to look at it, it was done in April of 2003. We want to save it, and we don't want it to be demolished. And so, yes, Mr. Krapps, we've spoken to him, and he is going to see if there is any funding. But we do ask that you do everything you can to help us save the building.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberts. We also have signed up for public comment, Ms. Deborah Griffin.
Oh, what a relief. We're finally there. So I just would like to say that we in the community here have used the Women's Club for years and years and years. I had that it was built in 1900, but whatever, a few years in between there. 4 clubs meet there or met there on the regular, which brought in revenue. Many events are held there, weddings, graduations, showers, thank you. And there's nothing else, nothing else in this downtown area that serves those events better than the Women's Club. And to address the historical piece as well, the historical board, it is in I reviewed the maps today, it is in the historical area. And so that needs to be addressed as well. But the other thing I want to mention is that I own a building right over here on Veteran Street. It was built in 1920. If you look at the pictures that are in the packet of the attic area, 3 trusses broken. Now, no, I'm not an engineer, but I know that people that specialize, engineers that specialize in that age building can fix that without demoing the whole building. It can be fixed. I have a name of an engineer in Tallahassee, Florida, that if we need to have an engineer come in and take a look at it, let's do that. But please, on the behalf of the citizens of Columbia County and the city of Lake City, do not demo this building. So can I, and if you wouldn't mind, who sat through this whole meeting for this purpose? Do you want the building to stay? Yes. Thank you for your attention.
We'll have order. Come on. Thank you very much. We have to be consistent. Okay. I believe that was all the public comment we had, so I'll close public comment. Do we have council comments? Oh, Mr. Carter.
I would just say that as a member of Kiwanis Club for the last 16 years, we've met there and I've had lunch every Tuesday in that building. It's a wonderful, beautiful building and a lovely spot. Obviously, in addition to that club, I've most recently won a terrific Scrabble tournament there. So it's an important landmark for the community. As far as the Historic Preservation Agency goes, if that's what you guys are referring to, is my understanding that it's, having served on the board, its primary purview is facades and appearances and things like that. So I don't know that it would necessarily, like as the owners of the building, if we decided to demolish it, they wouldn't be able to, there's not anything in their guide, I don't think, that would stop that necessarily. But I think that we should take some time, we should look into grants, what Mr. Krapps is looking for, is looking to historical renovation and preservation grant, certainly it can be repaired. It's all about the cost, and obviously for us, we own it as a city, but as a city entity, we specifically do not really use it. It's effectively the Women's Club and Garden Club building. And so the reason I think that it was ever even discussed as a possibility for demolition is it certainly has to be an option whenever we're doing a cost-benefit analysis of the value of fixing it. Because if I understand it correctly, the numbers that we've gotten so far would be $79,000 roughly to pay to then shore the building up well enough that someone could then go inside and really determine the cost of the repairs. And so obviously, that's a ton of money. Just to then find out what mystery ton of money there is. So to be clear, I'm in full support of trying to save the building in any way we can, and I'd like to look into grants, historic preservation stuff that does exist. We applied for one for this building, for instance, so we could have our team look into that. I would encourage staff to see what avenues can be pursued there.
Mr. Jernigan. Yes, of course, I'm in favor of saving it as well. I've attended several functions there, and it's nothing like the Women's Club. I mean, that is the real deal when you talk about the Women's Club. So anything we could do to save the building, we by all means, let's try to do that. However, I don't even know how we got to this. I just said level it or leave it, or I read the paper, and I couldn't believe that we would even consider leveling that building. I can't see us considering that, but I can see us making the necessary repairs and check into funding. It is a lot of money sometimes to get out there. However, those are the type of buildings that we need, especially the young generation that's coming up, that's going to take these ladies' place in that arena. So please, whatever you do, Mayor, let's try to save that building, please.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. Ms. Young, you had comments?
Yes, and to look at the building, you would never think it's in the condition that it's in. Very beautiful building, inside and out. It speaks. It's historic. And I thank God for Daniel Krabs. God put special people in places at the right time. I'm not saying that it would have been demolished. I can't say that would have happened, but I'm just glad we're at the space we are now, where somebody's really care enough about the building and the community to speak up and pretty much say, I have a solution, or I'll help with the solution. And that's always good, always great when it comes to the city of Lake City. And I'm really excited to hear how it's going to work out as far as, and I think, is it 80,000?
Just a roof, just a roof was 80,000, so.
Right.
That's just to analyze the problem.
Yes, so, I'm just looking forward to a positive outcome, which I believe we have here now. And I just trust that we can be at ease, from here on out. I have benefited from the building. It is a beautiful building, like I said, inside and out. I've attended many, events held there. I think everybody likes it. And not only that, but like the ducks and the pond and all, it's just, the scenery is just great. So, I thank you all for coming in such numbers, beautiful ladies, and me and y'all too. But I just thank y'all for coming, appreciate your support. That's always a plus. Yeah, and we're looking forward to a great building. Safe building.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Young.
Yes.
Seriously, you want to say?
I have had the pleasure of putting on plenty of women conferences there, and I was shocked to see that the ceiling was like that, so I definitely would love to keep it the same, get it fixed.
My thoughts reflect everybody on this board's. The Women's Club is a bastion in our community that I think we should keep around. I know that we do have our historic board, as James alluded to, and our LDR probably need to be consulted on the tearing down of that. A conversation I had with Mr. Leidick, who's the chair of that board, he's got extensive knowledge of our LDR and historic preservation. He had some thoughts that there's actually a provision where they have to be, where it's part of our code that we need to go through the historic preservation in order to demolish that. That it's a step to that. So I think that it's pretty well insulated that it wouldn't be demolished. But I would look to the partnerships that use the Women's Club to help us in the capital expenditures of fixing and reclaiming that building for sure, for sure. Do we have any other thoughts? Great, sounds like, yes, sir.
I just think we need to give staff specific direction, right? Is it clear how we all feel and what we're gonna look into?
I believe yes, sir.
I think it's clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's clear to look at non-demolishing options for the Women's Club. Thank you. All right, thank you for everybody that came out for that. All right, now we're moving on to item number 13, discussion and possible action. Consider removal of tables from the front desk and council chambers, Ms. Harris.
We spoke about this a couple of times, and I would love for the tables to be removed. We have.
Hey guys,
I'm sorry.
we could have order as people are filing out.
We have spoke about removing the tables a couple of times. We have come up with ideas, alternative ideas that we could use, but I think that it isn't a good look. I think that Chief and I think it's Corporal Miles. Chief Miles, I'm sorry. We have them in the back and we have an officer up here, and then when they come through, they're going through metal detectors. So I just believe that it doesn't look good. The people that we're supposed to be representing, we're putting them like it's a them and it's a us. I don't want it to be like that. I want us to be, we're working for those people that come to the podium. So I would like for the tables to be removed.
Thank you for presenting the item, Ms. Harris. We do have some public comment for this, so I'll go ahead and open it up. Mr. Bowden, you're up first.
Mr. Mayor, about a year ago when the tables first went up, I mentioned something about this. Not as if this had not been talked about over and over and over and over again. I share Ms. Harris' view and I share Mr. Collins, it's us against them. And I don't mind being them. I've been them ever since 1978 here in Lake City, so that's not a big deal for me. What Mayor read when the tables came up was disingenuous then. He talked about handicap and distance being to make a good presentation, and that was not the reason. Everybody knows not the reason. What we discussed some time ago, Mr. Jenkins said he was fearful of the constituents, that he didn't want people within 6 feet of him. But tonight I watched them stand right here, and Mr. Sampson's face almost kissing him. He wasn't worried about no coronavirus, wasn't worried about no.
Point of order, Mayor. I don't need him calling my name. Direct everything at you, okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Please, Mr. Brown, keep it to me.
I'm talking to you, but I'm talking about Mr. Jenkins.
No, I don't want you talking about me.
You can't tell me I'm talking about me.
Listen,
Excuse me.
folks, order. I'm gonna.
Yeah, tell me how you want to tell me how you want to handle it.
Sure. So public comment, he's keeping it on topic about the tables. Please keep it on topic about the tables, the barrier, the story, address me only. Thank you, Mr. Bowden.
All right. We are doing a meeting in the past. Mr. Jenkins stated in this meeting that he wanted some 6 feet up here from the constituents. My view is this, that this hall belongs to the citizens of this community. And there's not a city hall in this area that I've been to that you got a barrier that prevents the citizens from going up and talking to their council people before and after the meeting. I've come to meetings all the time. I've not seen anybody come up here and attack anybody. I've never heard anybody threaten anybody alive. Mr. Carter said one time, and I agree with him, if somebody threatened me, the furniture be rearranged. This is a barrier, it's put there for a purpose. If the purpose is to prevent certain people from coming up here talking to folks, it doesn't look good. It's childish, it's petty. The term I used before is called a sissy leg. I mean, it don't make no sense. What sense this make? It's direct, it's a personal affront to those who complain and protest. If you don't like complainers and protesters, that's what this is about. This is a month that we celebrate people who complain and protest. Because of complaining and protesting, because there's 3 black members on the city council today. If a complaint and protest led to a black county commissioner. Protest led to the first black woman to be elected to the school board. And now you're gonna put barriers to prevent me from coming up here? I can't even go talk to Ms. Sachs, I've been knowing for years before the meeting. That don't make any sense. This is cowardly, it doesn't look good, it's childish, it's undemocratic, it's anti-black. And it's racist to keep it there, in my view.
Thank you, Mr. President. Up next, Mr. Lostrom.
Okay, my opinion is this is a very small deal. Like, it literally takes 5 minutes for somebody to put up. And there wasn't 10 different discussions and 10 different people came up with it to install them. It's just one time we showed up and they're here. But we've talked about this. Glenelle posts on Facebook about it all the time. Everybody brings it up, they don't like it, and it's been months. Like, literally in 3 minutes, you can take it down and fold it up. So you have 2 options. Either tell us, pound sand, they're gonna be there forever, just quit bringing it up because no one cares, or take them down. Literally, any of the people that work here, and when they're sweeping the floor, fold them up and they'd be gone and end the discussion. Instead, me and Glenelle and several other people come up regularly and complain and waste, let's be honest, we're wasting everybody's time for no reason. Like I said, either tell us we like them, they're gonna stay forever, end of discussion, or put them away. Now, that being said, and I like Todd Sampson, been friends with him for years. When we had the 5-minute recess, Todd was in back of there talking to people and nobody said anything. The cops didn't throw him out. Nobody made any comment whatsoever. So if that's the case, which it apparently was, because it's on video, let's just take him down. Or, and I hate to bring this up, are there some people that can't go and some can? And we really don't want to give that impression. So if Todd can come up there, these got to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lostrom. All right, closing public comment. Council discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I think we've discussed this ad nauseum. We've talked about it. It's very clear how everyone feels. I think it's very clear how everyone feels. I agree with Mr. Lostrom 100%. I make a motion that we remove the tables and the stanchions. In my opinion, they're unnecessary. So I make a motion to remove the tables.
And I second.
We have a motion and a second, now discussion. Mr. Jernigan.
Well, we gave him a chance to speak before he made the motion, so I was hoping that you gave me a chance to speak. That way, if he wants to make the motion and everybody decides to move him, I just want to let you know, the last mayor that we had in here, he's the one that put those tables up there for whatever reason. He said something about handicap can put their books up there. He also said something about a couple other things that he said, but it makes sense. He was protecting not only the citizens, but protecting the city councils. And all I'm gonna tell you is, you can move them, and if something happens, just know that they're there for the council's protection. It's not like it's a bad look. I don't know where people get this bad look from. Some people say it looks like a control room. To me, I mean, it's got the city of Lake City on the front of it, and it looks very professional. I know when you walk into a judge's chamber, I seen a video, and constituents sent that video to me, and from my understanding, he sent it to you too, but I don't know. Where a person jumped over and attacked the judge. Now, I'm just saying, it's good to be proactive instead of you reacting to something. Yeah, I know you guys are Superman and Superwomen and super this and super that. The bottom line is, Yeah, we do have fragile people up here. We have been disrespected up here. And the mayor has allowed that to happen. Ms. Sykes can vouch for that. Ms. Young and we can all vouch for that. No, you guys have not entertained anything like that before. We've had people come in here with a gun and then had to be escorted out. That just think about those kind of things. And again, move them. All right, but you will be making that decision. Okay, you'll be making that decision, and it's not a constituent in 10, 12, 14, or whatever, with the exception of, we have a couple people who come up here and want this done and want that, and try to flex their muscles. And sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. I'm not saying anything about that, but the bottom line is, if they're thinking about something as petty as moving a table that's going to make them happy, they want. I don't want nobody coming to see me. They can come see whoever they want. And I love talking to constituents. I talk to them every single day. It's only a few people that come up here and they have convinced this council, some people on the council, that that's a bad look. And it's not. If you go just north of town, there was they had armed guards in there. People had to be removed. So things happen, and all I want to do is be proactive. I want to be protected. I want Ms. Harris, I want you, Ms. Sykes, Carter, and Ms. Young, as well as the city manager. Yeah, we got police officers in here. What we're gonna do? Stand them at attention? Right out there somewhere. Come on, it's like, please understand that what we have been through, and I don't want to go through that anymore. With any constituent, I don't care what area they live in, I don't care what color they are. I just don't want to go through it. And again, I know that people say that that's a bad look, and we talk about it for years. And one thing I can say about Mayor Witt, he was smart enough to put him up there, and now we're going to remove him. And I know he wanted to be protected as well as Ms. Sykes, because just walking up there and just cussing somebody out and pointing fingers at them and calling them all kind of names. Okay, if that's what you want, do it. I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. To speak to the procedural issue that was brought up, if a motion's made, I can't stop that communication, and once it's seconded, that's when we have discussion. So I just wanted to point that out. Ms. Young.
Yes, I wanna say, first of all, it was stated that I said I'm afraid. I've never said that. I don't have fear in my heart. I'm not afraid. If the table's there, I'm not afraid. If they're not there, I'm not afraid. I do have concern for if someone says that they're afraid, and that's exactly what I said last time, and I stand on that. If somebody tell me they're afraid, I take them for what they say. I'm not the judge to say whether a person is afraid or not afraid. I asked the question, well, who put the tables there? I finally got an answer today. I asked Sykes, who put the tables there? She said Chief put the tables there. So if Chief put the tables there, he's law enforcement, he used his judgment, then that's his judgment. He's the chief of police. I don't have room to say he shouldn't have put them there or should have put them there. He's law enforcement. I can't tell him not to put signs out on the road. Those tables, they don't offend me because I know who I am. They don't offend me. It doesn't matter to me whether they're there or whether they're not there. Some want them there, some doesn't want them there. It doesn't matter to me whether they're there or not. That's the truth of the matter. But I am not afraid, and I want y'all to pocket that.
Thank you, Ms. Young.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I didn't sign up, but I just have to ask this question for clarity, because I can't understand from the mics what people are saying, so I do need to clarify what she just said. did she say she put them up?
No, so Ms.
Did she, or did she say
Thank you for-
that she put them up? Cause I just need to get that clarified.
Thank you for asking the question. Now, let's be careful. That is an audience disruption, so please don't nobody else speak up like that. The clarification, because you couldn't hear based on the microphone, was that she said that Chief put them up, is what, yes, secondhand information. Thank you, and that's all the discussion we're gonna have from the audience, thank you. So we've had, council comment, yes, ma'am.
I wanna hear what Chief has to say, cause he's saying something different.
Yes.
Chief?
I didn't put these up. What happened was, there were issues at the city council. I believe it was Paul Dial asked to meet with me and give suggestions on what could be done. I referenced I believe it's the Council of City Managers website, which had this kind of thing, which called it a flawed concept. I think I've distributed that a couple of times over the last year. There were different ideas, I submitted those ideas. This is the idea that was selected. I did not put these up. I submitted, these are options that could be taken, and I believe Paul Dial made the decision that this was the option they were going with. Similar to what the debate is going on about these, I submitted suggestions going from removing to what other municipalities have done in order to create the barrier. So I just want to be clear, the chief of police did not put those barriers up. Is there anybody don't understand what I'm saying?
Are you in fear, Chief?
Let's have a little order.
I'm in fear of my wife because my dinner's getting cold and she's texting me 3 times.
Order, thank you very much. Mr. Jernigan, you have another.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Also, if we are gonna remove the tables, you know, and people, I don't know how somebody can say that's a barrier. I mean, you can walk around, I think one of the ladies come over here, Todd Sampson went around. I mean, it's not like people cannot come around. This is for, and we won't break at the time. And people still come around to this day, whether we won't break or not. After the meetings, before the meetings, they still come around those tables. And it's the people that comes around the table and act out. Those are the people that you have to wonder why they had the tables put there, whether Paul Dow did it, the mayor, whoever done it. It's okay. But they were there for a reason, to protect the staff. They pretty much understood what we were going through, what we went through. They pretty much understood that. So even if we take them down, there still should be some kind of yes, it should be, yes, that is correct. Thank you for that information, ma'am. And again,
Listen, hey, please. We've got a motion, a second, discussion by council. Mr. Jernigan, do you have anything else to say?
Again, see those remarks, it comes in this year, that year. Those are the reasons why these barriers are there. And if I wish we had audio that we didn't have to listen to that kind of stuff, I would do that as well. But to make those kind of comments, and most of the guys that make these comments, they can't even fight. They just make comments, you know. So.
Why are you in fear?
Yeah, we do. Hey, we do have a comment from Councilwoman Young. Yes, please.
And let me say this, if I may. It's okay to want to be protected. It's nothing wrong with that. If you look back on 9, you have a group who wants protection of their identity. And then you have someone who wants protection of their life. Everybody matters. If a person feels that their life is in danger, it's okay to want to be protected. So move, if you wanna move the tables, if the council agree, move the tables, and law enforcement on your feet. Like it should be anyway. Then maybe they'll feel protected. Law enforcement need to be on the feet, and I think I brought that up some time back. And we take it lightly. We say we're in Lake City, and what councilperson said is we're in Lake City. And we don't have that kind of thing to happen here. We can't say that. We don't know what's gonna happen. We're in 2025. You better stop fooling yourself. And I don't know who it could be, but it could be someone. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be protected. We lock our doors now. We didn't lock our doors years ago. We left our windows up. But we're in a different era. And if someone wants protection, I have no problem with it.
All right, we've had a motion, a second, we've had discussion. Ms. Harris, you wanna say something else?
At the end of the day, when I was running for office, I went door to door. That's part of my job. You're gonna find out that there are gonna be people that disagree with you, and there are gonna be people that's gonna agree with you. Nonetheless, we still all ran to be in this spot. And the people that we're trying to hide from, I keep saying it's a them and it's a us, these are the people that voted to put us here. Whether we like them or however we feel about them, whether they're talking loud or whatever. We are hired staff, period. And if this might not be the job for certain individuals, if you cannot take when a person comes up there and get loud with their voice, if you can't handle that, this might not be the job for you. You have 2 officers in the back, you have an officer up here, and I got confidence in our police department that they're gonna do their due diligence to make sure not only that we are safe, but our constituents that come in here, whether they are complaining or whether they are just sitting in. This just might not be the job for that individual if you cannot take criticism from somebody coming to that podium talking smack. That's part of the job.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. This is a motion to give staff clarity on how to set up, because I know that we've given them conflicting. So we've had a motion, we've had a second, we've had discussion, so you have further discussion?
Yeah, further
Okay,
discussion.
please.
Okay, I don't like calling the council's names or anything like that.
If it's me.
But I want people to know, they didn't yell and scream from out here. They didn't threaten from out here. They came here and did it. And Ms. Sykes can vouch for it, and I know the mayor can vouch for it, and I know for a fact I can vouch for it. They came around and got right in his face and cursed him out, called him all kind of names, just like this. The video won't show that. They won't show that. Now, I'm not you up there talking, hey, say what you gotta say, do what you gotta do, it's fine. But when you come in my face, that's another problem. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I think somebody's got it twisted. I ran for office, I went door to door. I'm not afraid of anybody in my district. You know, I know all of those people, just about. Okay? And then if another constituent from another district wanna come up here and complain about this, or get somebody to change their mind, or get something done that they need done, so be it. That's fine. But just know that if something happens, I told you so.
Please call me personally.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. Okay, Ms. Sykes, will you please call the roll on this?
May I repeat the motion back, just to make sure everyone's clear? The motion to remove the barrier tables and stanchions in the city council.
Yes.
We have a motion and a second, so Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Move them,
I'm sorry,
move them.
so that's a yes. Mr. Jernigan?
I want them, you can move them, but I want another, option, not just move the tables with another option. That's gonna be my motion after we get done.
Okay, so are you voting yes on this motion?
I'm voting no on this motion with additional motion.
Mayor Walker?
Yes. All right. Mr. Jernigan, you had another action?
Yes, I got another action. I like, Mr. Carter, made the motion, or Ms. Ms. Harris made the motion to have him removed. I like, to make a motion that we, if we're gonna move the tables, have some type of option, whether the police are standing right in front of the diocese, or on their feet, or whatever the case may be, but we have to have something else other than, just moving the tables. I make that motion.
That's on the agenda.
We have a motion. I understand that, Mr. Bowden. Please, no more calling out. That's the last one. Anybody who I hear and I look your way, you're getting tossed out of this meeting. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Bowden. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Have a good night. I understand it's not on the agenda, and if it turns into a proposition that we're going to vote on, we will have public comment. But thank you for leaving.
No, I'm gonna wait for you.
No, sir, you are now tossed out for violating after I said if I hear something else from the audience.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. Have a good night.
You're an honorable man.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too.
So we've got a motion. Does anybody want to second it?
What is this?
Mayor, I'm not clear on
Yeah,
what the
what-
motion is.
The motion is for another barrier to go up, correct?
Well, have an option to have something up there besides the tables.
I'll second it for discussion.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second discussion.
Mr. Mayor, it seems to me like this would be more like a question.
So hold on a second. Mr. Rosenthal had something.
The chief and I discussed, I think with you several weeks ago, another option.
Yep.
So I'm gonna ask the chief to come up and talk about that option that he discussed.
And let me say before the chief comes up is that, again, this council's been giving you guys conflicting direction on this.
Absolutely.
I think that we just voted to eliminate that conflicting direction and eliminate barriers here. That was the vote.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chief, if you'd like, we do have a motion in a second. We're having discussion. Ms. Young?
I thought it was to eliminate tables. What does it say?
It was to eliminate tables and stanchions.
Oh, tables and stanchions.
Okay, I missed that.
Okay, I was asked again to do some research, which I did through the same website, the city managers. They did show some where they used the velvet rope movie theater style barriers that are easily moved. They're not the physical barriers they are, but they do a visual barrier. You don't have the look. There's no issue with the reporters getting over and taking their pictures. That was an option I submitted to the city manager. Again, that was one of the options I was asked to look in for. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Chief Butler. Does anybody have questions before we open it up for public comment, since we have a proposition on the floor? All right, thank you. Because we didn't have an agenda number for this, anybody who would like to speak to this item, please come to the podium. Just line up at the podium.
Okay, at a certain point, this just gets ridiculous. Okay, I was just at NASCAR the other day and President Trump came. When President Trump was there, anybody that had a bag had to go through security and run it through a metal detector, portable metal detector, and the bag detector, just like at the airport. TSA was there and also Secret Service. That's one extreme. I don't think we're quite at that extreme. We can also do what they do in other countries, El Salvador. When you get off the boat, they have guys with machine guns ready, standing, just in case. Again, I hope we're not at that level. I think we already have cops here, cops there, cops when you walk in. I think we have enough. And what has really turned out is there's like one person that we were worried about. Everybody knows who that person is. The cops are already looking for him. They're watching him, and he's already said it himself. You're so worried about me, you're making yourself look stupid. And I feel that's what we're doing. Again, I've been right here. When people try to take pictures, I'm in the picture and I'm not part of their group. If they weren't there, like they have in the past, they would stand there and it looks nice. You got the American flag, you got, all your name tags, all that. That looks a lot more official. That's easy to get to if these tables were gone. I think you got two options, like I said, leave it there, or let's just have these guys start carrying automatic weapons. But that's extreme. Or just take it down and we'll be totally fine. Let's just say the truth. Sylvester got in someone's face And that's what we didn't like. Had no issue with Todd Sampson, no one's thrown me out. We were just worried about Sylvester.
Thank you, Mr. Lostrom, for maintaining order. You're not yelling from the audience, you're keeping it on topic. Stephanie, your turn.
Stephanie Bennett, 205 Southwest Tina Glen, Lake City. My comment is that the information got brought up about some place for handicapped people and stuff to put down their books, and that's why these were put up, and to protect y'all. If you vote to give these out, then my recommendation would be to put some type of small table on each side so that the handicapped would still have access to some place to lay their stuff down.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I appreciate the attention to this. I do want to say I'm feeling, and I hope that you look back and re-see this program tonight, this meeting tonight. There is inconsistency with the way in which people can make comments, the way in which people are returned comments. You really need to look at that inconsistency and maybe mark, I allowed this to this person, although you said, sir, and I'm being respectful, although you said your goal is to be consistent with every person, please, I beg of you, to look back at tonight's meeting specifically, because you weren't consistent. You've made comments that I personally was offended by. So I just need you to know that I was offended by what you said to me. I've heard other people, and I know I'm addressing you, I've heard other people call out, but they're allowed to call out, but then other people call out and they're asked to leave. Please review this program tonight. I know you got upset. It's obvious you got upset tonight. And when you got upset, things started to get inconsistent. I have so much confidence in you that you're going to bring order and all that, but in your bringing order, please, sir, respect everyone. My husband was disrespected. I was disrespected tonight, but I saw other people being allowed to make disrespectful comments. Please, sir, and I know I'm repeating myself as others repeat themselves, review this and see where you are being inconsistent and where you need to bring yourself to order. And I mean that from the depth of my heart, and not because I'm angry, because I felt you disrespected me. If you're going to be consistent as you have declared, then you need to do that to everyone. I'm also concerned that people are saying how concerned they are about their safety, but I see their family members sitting out here among us. So if we need to be protected up here, then our family members need to be protected when they're sitting out here with us too. Something else just to consider. But I'm so happy that you're taking and hearing us. But again, let me go back to my point, consistency. Everybody should be treated, no matter how upset we get emotionally, everybody should still be considered and be treated equally as everyone else, including the people that are sitting there. Thank you for listening to me and being respectful to me right now.
Thank you.
Dee Etheridge, 353 Southwest Mulberry Drive. I personally like the looks of the tables. I think they look nice. I do think that points are made about not wanting someone in your face. Why not just move the tables to the wall? Have the podium here with something for a handicapped person. That way they're not right in someone's face and they look nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ma'am, can you state your name again?
Dee Etheridge.
Dee Etheridge. Thank you.
Martha Ann Ronsonet, 1247 Southeast Inglewood Avenue. If Mr. Jernigan is not comfortable, couldn't you just put a plastic thing in front of his face so that nobody could do this to him? Isn't that what you were objecting to?
Just protection, yes ma'am, I like that, Ms. Russell, and I'm not the only one that has been disrespected
I
or
realize.
threatened. So,
Thank you.
yes ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Rosen. Do we have any other public comment? Thank you for the public comments.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm so sorry that all this has taken up so much time, us and everybody else's. The only thing I'll say about this is that I think it's, the thing that we need to determine as a governing body is what sort of governing body we want to be. Historically speaking, citizens can come up here and talk to us, shake our hand, say, how you doing, what you got going on, this, that, and the other. I remember coming to council meetings before I was on the council, and you could do that. I've been friends with the previous mayor for many years. We did a class together a long time ago. Great guy, it's nice to walk up and just say hello. You can do that at the county commission meetings. You can do that at many meetings across the state and across the country. It's not that uncommon. And I just hate the idea that we would leave that sort of thing behind. We're not. It doesn't have to be Alcatraz. And here's the other thing too. As a political position, you know, somebody may come up and say rude things. That's just part of it. You know, somebody's gonna come up and say nice things. Somebody's gonna come up and say rude things. People can come up. Everybody in this room can come here and call me a name if they want to. That's their right, and I'd be happy to hear it. I'm just delighted to be here. So for me, the decision is what kind of government do we want to be? Do we want to be the ones that got to stay over there? We're concerned about this, that, or the other. When we've got 2 or 3 armed police officers out there, armed police officer over here, two more armed gentlemen back there. And so for me, I want to be the government that my citizens and my constituents and stuff feel comfortable coming up here and saying, hey, I don't like what you did, or hey, I appreciate you. So that's where I'm coming from in all of this, and I don't think the tables are stopping anybody from anything anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. So we have a motion, we have a second. We've had discussion. Can you clarify the motion for us, Ms. Sykes?
Motion to have an additional option available if the tables are removed.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we do this? And you said the last motion wasn't just tables, but it was for tables or any alternative.
It said the tables and the stanchions in the last motion. This would be to come up with some other option. I think that in further discussion, I think that if you want some kind of barrier, like some kind of barrier here, I think that's an individual choice, right? I don't know that we necessarily need to move for that to happen. What we've done as a board is we've given conflicting direction to city staff over and again on whether or not the tables should be there. Somebody will say, please take them away. Somebody say, please keep them. So what we've done in that last vote was we clarified a board decision to take them away, as the democratic choice was to take them away. Now, if you have a personal choice to have a barrier at your spot, I don't think that we need a motion for that. Does that make sense? We have a motion on the floor, but for a collective, and the motion is for a collective barrier, right, or a collective option to replace what is on the floor. So that's what we need to address right now. Yes, sir, Mr. Carter.
To be clear, as far as I understand it, that's not really a motion. That's just a vague statement. So the motion seems like if there's going to be another vote or something like that, it needs to be like a motion to put a table there or a motion to put up stanchions. It seems to me that the better course of action for Mr. Jernigan to achieve what I think he's wanting to achieve with this would be asking staff to come up with different ideas and bring it back to us. I don't think we need a motion for that. That's just. And we can put it on the agenda exactly to discuss again so the citizens will know.
Is everybody satisfied with that? Because we have voted to give staff direction on taking this barrier away. Correct. That's what we voted. That's what we achieved. That was the vote. So we do have a motion. We have a second on the floor, so we need to clear that one way or the other. I know that it was vague, so I would advise that we shoot it down, and they give staff the recommendation to come back with an option. Does that make sense? Or come back with an option for the individual choice of having a barrier here. Does that make sense?
No, we have already made a motion and it was second that the tables be removed. Now, if if, Mr. Jernigan wants to put it on the next agenda, he can put it on the next agenda and go do it like that. But as of tonight, we voted that they be removed, so let's remove them, and then you can put them on the next agenda.
You know what that's what you're saying.
So we still have a motion, a second, I know that it's vague, so
Kill it,
we need
kill
to
it.
clear it. So it would, only the person that made the motion can kill it.
That's exactly right, I'm waiting for you to kill it. You kill it if you want, yeah. I made a motion, and I'm sticking by that motion.
Alright, so Ms. Sykes, please call the roll.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
You gotta restate that motion and
I'm
it's six
sorry.
of those cases. What is the
A
motion?
motion to have an additional option available if the tables are removed. Have a motion by Mr. Jernigan and a second by Ms. Young. So Mr. Jernigan voted yes, and I'm calling roll Ms. Young.
So I have a question, because the alternative could be his individual. So how's that?
It was made.
I'll second.
Well, I'm calling.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, child ready to go home.
It's okay, it's a long night. Mr. Carter?
Nay.
Ms. Harris?
No.
Mayor Walker?
No. Alright. Well, now we've come to the lovely part of comments. So we're gonna start with you, Mr. Rosenthal. Comments?
I had some comments, but the night's gotten long, and I think I've lost my comments. I'm gonna pass.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Mr. Martin?
Likewise, I'm gonna waive my opportunity to offer comments.
Mr. Martin, Ms. Sykes?
Nothing else to add.
Vice Mayor Young?
My comment is, why we gotta go down the whole road for comments? What brought that about? For instance, we have sites on for comments. Why? Sites comments should be, if something comes up on an item. Why is it open comments for sites? Or even Rosenthal, or even the attorney?
I'm not absolutely certain, but I think some fat black guy put that in there, so we all have a comment.
Whoever the fat black guy is, I don't know.
It's me, I
I think the true intent here
I don't
is-
think it's necessary.
is if there's, let's say there's, staff events coming up that they might wanna share with the public,
Absolutely.
those type of things.
Mr. Mayor, I can offer, in most of our other cities, there's an opportunity for the charter officers to offer comments, if for no other reason than the agenda comes out about 10 days, that's what we're shooting for anyway, a week ahead of the meeting, and if there are any late-breaking events or anything on a legal perspective that we need to update the council on, it would give us an opportunity on the agenda to
That
do it.
usually go through the mayor.
I want to give them the opportunity to do it, because on nights like tonight, I might not remember. I'm a fallible individual, as we've learned tonight. Do you have any more comments, Mr.
No, that just makes the meeting longer. That's all I'm saying.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes, I'm gonna try to keep this brief. I would like to, for us to work together as a unit. I don't like to be, or even think about us being divisive. And I wanted to suggest or recommend that we can, maybe go have lunch or dinner at the Roadhouse, or Texas Longhorn or somewhere like that, and just have a fun night. This is not where we talk about, this is not a sunshine violation or law or anything like that. We're just there to mingle, to eat, and we could talk about the weather, and then back home we go. And that way, I know Miss Harris, she told me, we had a parade or something, and I think she said something like, I think we all should ride together. on the, I think it was a fire truck or whatever. And that let me knew that she wanted to work with me, and not only that, she wanted us to be together. So I'm just gonna suggest to recommend, like, once a month, maybe we go to Texas Longhorn and just I don't know if you want to let my hair down or let it out or whatever, but that's just to let us know that we are all on the same team, and that's including and I hope you don't charge us, Mr. Martin. It's like, you know, I just want to suggest that, and again, if it happens, it's good. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. But I did suggest it.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. Mr. Carter.
Yeah, just real quick, I was curious, Mr. Rosenthal, if we could get an update on the audio, the speakers and sound quality and stuff like that. That is something I brought up before, and I know we're working on it, but I just wondered if we.
Yes, we are working on it, and based on the comment I got tonight, I'm gonna get an update and bring it back to the board for the next session.
Okay, that'd be good. Also,
hold on a second, D has an update right now.
Oh, sure.
Go ahead, D.
The audio, we did approve the PO for it. The project manager has come in. We gotta first get some construction done as far as the basis of where the wires are gonna run. I look at maybe 3 to 4 months for completion.
Okay, thank you.
But we actually started working on it when we said we were gonna start working on it. It just takes time.
Sure.
Vice Mayor Young?
We haven't met, since we had the tragedy in the city, with the 8-year-old. And we definitely wanna keep that family in our prayers. And, when something like that happens, I like to look and see what can come out. What can come out of it? So I mentioned, having, a bicycle safety, to talk with the chief, and I did speak with, Dr. Rosendahl, Mr. Rosendahl, concerning that, and I understand, someone told me that the chief used to do that, as police department used to do that before, bicycle safety, and, give lights and helmets, and most of all, just bring the children to a, surrounding and teach safety. Not saying that it was no, fault of what I'm not even talking about, what the cause or anything like that, but it is an eye opener. And if we can do something, positive concerning what has happened, we can't change it, but we can use that and, come up with different, avenues to bring, these children to, knowledge of safety. And we're seeing more bicycles on the road now, and that's a good sign because, our children were inside with the gamings and all. So we're seeing more bicycles now and the electric bikes. Did I say that right? So let us be mindful.
So Councilwoman, I haven't had a chance to talk to the chief about it yet. You and I discussed it, but I haven't talked to the chief about it at all yet.
I apologize, I know it's just going on and on, but I did have one other thing, and it's to piggyback off of what Mr. Jernigan said. I'd like to learn a little bit more. I chit-chatted just briefly with Mr. Martin a few weeks ago, and he had mentioned an idea about orchestrating something kind of similar to that. It's more a public meeting, but in a slightly less formal setting. And I found it pretty intriguing, and it would maybe achieve something of the same sort of maybe vibe that Mr. Jernigan was talking about, as far as us kind of maybe sitting down together, still a public meeting, just like before, but maybe a little bit less formal, maybe a little more town hall type thing. So I'd love to learn a little more about that, because Mr. Martin talked about it the other day.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Yep.
At a future meeting, or? Sure.
Oh, yeah, the future meeting is fine, okay, especially today.
Tonight would be great. Yes, it's now your turn, Miss Tammy Harris. Absolutely.
Well, I like to say, Don, look like we're going to Longhorn, and it's gonna be on Mr. Jernigan. But I do wanna say this, just because we come to a disagreement does not mean that we don't like one another. I don't want nobody to think that we are against one another. It is just business. And after this, all of us gonna go home, and I'm gonna be, getting in touch with Mr. Jernigan so we can get that date on the book. for all of us to
But you're not gonna contact him, are you, Councilwoman?
It's okay if she does. Right. As long as she don't talk about. Yeah, we're not gonna talk about business.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna just be there to eat free. But I'd like to also say, I think this was a pretty good meeting. It was a pretty good meeting, just long. And I'd like to thank the ladies for coming and sitting with us.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Certainly was a long meeting, yes. Now these are my comments. I just want to let everybody know about a couple things that are coming up. February 22nd, 2025, starting at 9 a.m., Wilson Park and Darby Pavilion. There's the Health 360 event. There's going to be raffles, health checks, yoga session, community health walk. This is a free community event put on by the City of Lake City, Florida Gateway College, and Florida Health. So this will be a good health event. Another thing coming up on March 8th is the free shred event. So if you have anything that needs to be shredded, old documents, old checks, things of that nature, make sure that you get that taken care of. That will be here at the City Hall parking lot, 205 North Marion Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. 3 boxes per person is allowed. It doesn't say how big the boxes are, so use your imagination. And then on February 27th, 2025, 5:30 p.m., the Police Explorers are having it looks like an education event on what they are and how they can benefit the youth. So there's hands-on experience, mentorship, skill development, networking opportunities, potential for future employment. So if you're interested, make sure that you do that. And then my final comments are, do my best to apply everybody's, to apply my order in this room fairly. I gave everybody multiple opportunities to comply with that order, and I will be reviewing it as I review all of my game film, as I would call it, to make sure that I get that right and get it right for the citizens of Lake City as we establish a good dignity in Lake City. So that's all I have to say, and good night.